Hey guys, this is Gaijin Hunter, and you're listening to the Third Fleet Podcast, your place for Monster Hunter discussion, news, gaming, unexpected roastings, dad jokes, and more. We've got a lot of Monster Hunter Rise to discuss today, so sit back, make a cup of Devil Joe, because I think this is going to be a long one. Rurikhan, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing good. I did not expect the unexpected roastings in the intro. That was pretty cool. Unexpected.
We're having this
roastings.
weird tradition of roasting each other for some fun reason.
Well, I mean, it's your fault for picking Mizutsune's side. I have to
How
bring
you doing?
that one back. But yeah, I'm doing all right. I've had some stuff that I did this weekend, which pretty much destroyed both my arms, my chest, and just about every other part of my body. I helped my dad move some stuff around, a lot of stuff around, also including disassembling a bunch of stuff. A lot of like labor, which actually feels good by the time you're done, but then like 1-2 hours afterwards, you feel terrible, like your whole body's in pain. And I did that literally the whole weekend. It was the whole weekend doing nothing but that. And then, like I mentioned in the previous episode, I went from that to doing an endoscopy. So now I don't even know where the pain is coming from. If it was from the endoscopy, if it was from all the stuff I did this weekend, all I know is I'm in pain. But this is fine.
Hey, what doesn't cart you makes you stronger, right?
That's right. That is 100%
That's right.
correct.
Well, actually, Iceborne ruined it. When you cart, you do get stronger because of Fortify.
Yes. Is that only an Iceborne?
Yeah. I'm not going to put my foot in my mouth. I'll say it's too early in the morning for me to answer that one. I can't remember.
You know what? This is actually perfect because of our schedules. It's too early in the morning for you to be accountable, but it's too late in the evening for me to be accountable.
Exactly.
So neither of us are accountable for anything that happens.
We're like slap happy, sleep deprived old men. So we've got an excuse pass right here. Like.
So, what have you been playing this week? Some more Iceborne with Yuna?
Oh my gosh. I think the last time we talked, I was at like 110 hours, I think, and maybe 95 hours. I can't remember in Iceborne.
Yeah.
We just hit the 200-hour mark.
Damn. That was a lot of gaming being done this week.
That since January 24th. So like we've been playing hardcore.
Yeah, that's some crazy stuff.
I keep thinking, okay, like we've run out of stuff to do. I think today we might actually not do a lot of hunts. And then, Yuna comes up, she's like, I want to do Alatrions tonight. I want to do some Fatalis. Okay.
Well, I'm curious though. Why does she want to do Alatrion? Is she crafting the armor, or does she just like? I just feel like
she likes
Alatrion.
it. Yeah, she likes it. She says she really likes the Alatrion and Fatalis hunts, the two in particular, because always something crazy is happening. Some stupid cart, some funny bug, something. It's eventful, right? Like no two hunts against these monsters are the same. She's right. There's always something hilarious happening.
I saw that you made a video. My daughter's a hunter. I haven't had an opportunity to see it yet because homeschooling time has not been something that I've had in great abundance, but I definitely plan on checking that out tomorrow. But yeah, I'm super happy that she's so into it. But before we move on, I do have to ask, so how did what's her face? Arch-tempered Velcana go?
Oh, went really well. We got her on the first try. Yuna actually attempted to solo it when I was doing some work. She got to the final phase, and I think she just had some unfortunate carts, but I think she could easily solo it. I think she can.
What weapon was she using?
We did it.
The hunting horn?
So I don't know, since the last time we talked, her main weapon keeps changing. So she started as a bow main, right? And she played that all the way through the end of Iceborne. Now she says she's never touching the weapon again.
Dude, that's awesome.
Okay, so the reasoning is I want to do damage was the first reason. So and now she understands she understands that the bow can do incredible damage. But she is right in the fact that there are certain requirements to get to that phase, right? And that's the fun of the weapon, right? Like it's the charge level, it's the coding, it's the distance, it's the weak spot, it's the element, it's everything put together and it adds up. And man, like it starts out with like really bad damage, but if you do it right, it goes way up high. But you can't just go in and smack a monster once and get good damage out of it, generally speaking. So when she picked up the hunting horn, she's like, oh my gosh, I'm doing damage. This feels good. So she liked it a lot. So she was playing hunting horn for quite a few hunts. Then for some reason, I noticed she was using switch axe. I'm like, what's going on here? She just decided to pick it up. And no, she does not watch my videos. She doesn't understand English yet, so she doesn't watch them or anything. But she picked up switch axe. She saw the zero sum, and she's like, I want to do that. So her first hunt with the switch axe, she was doing zero sums on like, I can't remember the monster. It was called Tarath or something. I was like, sheesh.
Yeah.
She was going off. And then she discovered the insect glaive.
Oh,
and she fell in love.
Man, here we go.
And she fell in love. Love at first sight. I don't know if it's a DNA thing or what, but the glaive spoke to her. And now she's been playing the glaive a lot. And she's also playing the charge blade as well, which I found interesting. But she likes the savage axe. But insect glaive has been her main thing for the last week. So she's been playing that against most monsters. And she told me, I think I might main this in Rise. This and Hunting Horn, probably.
So listen, we need to have a conversation. When are you going to show her the ways of the gun lance? You know, it's like you have to get her to at least try it. Just
okay, she said something so savage. She didn't mean it in a savage way, but it was like a matter of a fact thing.
Here comes the
I said, well, how about I was talking about the other weapons, and she's like, I've never seen anybody online using a lance or a gun lance. She's like, does those weapons even exist? I'm like, damn. She's like, oh, they're solo weapons, right? I'm like, what?
They're solo weapons.
Well, in a way, you've got a point. But no, she was just making observations because she just has not really seen anybody playing the weapons. And the other thing she said about bow, which made me laugh, was she says the first reason why she liked the bow was because you could do status inflictments. She's status like, elements. I can do, status elements. She's like, I can do paralysis, I can do sleep. But she's like sitting there with 20 coatings, right? And it's like by like the 13th, 14th, you're like, okay, I think I'm going to put it to sleep. Here we go. And you get to sleep. And I'm like, hey, watch this, honey. Boop, boop, boop. Oh, it's asleep with my light bow gun. And she's like, wait, what? I was like, okay, you want to paralyze him? Watch this. Boop, boop. One more. Boop. Okay, there he goes. And she's like, what the hell? She's like, the bow has nothing on the bow guns when it comes to this. She's like, you just stole all the thunder. She's like, it's no fair. The bow guns are much better at the ailments. The other weapons are much better at just lazy, like doing damage thinking. She's like, I don't know if I'm going back to the bow. And I got to worry about stamina. I got to worry about the skills. When she picked up the hunting horn, she's like, what skills do I need on my armor set? I'm like, oh, it doesn't matter. Use whatever you want. Like, there's no requirement of shit that you really need.
Get Horn Maestro or something like that's pretty good. It extends the duration, but yeah.
So it's been really funny.
Oh man, that's awesome. But you got to get her to try the gun lance. Tell her that the gun lance is the underdog, right? Like not a lot of people use it, but it's so good. You got to get her to at least try it because that's like, your homework. Your homework for next. I want to see what Yuna thinks.
Well, you know what? She's got 9 evil eyes sitting in her box. Just sitting there. She's like, I've got an abundance of evil eyes. So I'll just say, okay, let's make the slap lance.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed that because your video really got me into Fatalis Slap Lance. That was fun.
Slap Lance is a lot of fun. I mean, I still miss the shelling, but yeah. And World, sorry.
Yeah. So I was gonna say the AT Volcano was really fun though. I really enjoyed the hunt. Like I didn't realize that they had a new arrangement of the background music for that fight. Yeah. Oh, it's great. And it's just like ice really everywhere. Ice everywhere. It doesn't stagger from the ice crystals when you drop them on her. She'll eat through your temporal mantle in like a second. It's like it's done.
She's just like super aggressive, Velcana. Like it was pretty challenging. I don't even remember which weapon I used first on her. I think it might have actually been the slap lance. Yeah, it was the slap lance. My first kill on her was with the slap lance. And then I made a Frostcraft arch-tempered Velcana slap.
Okay, gosh. So we did it. We actually did the hunt as 3 people, not 4. So we were at a disadvantage. Because you don't try to play as 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3 is the probably the least advantageous setup, but we did really good. We've had a lot of really fun hunts, and then she even went through and said, "Okay, I want to do the collaboration." So we did the Leshens, the Ancient Leshen,
The
and
Ancient Leshen?
both Behemoth. We did Behemoth and Extreme Behemoth as well.
You did Extremoth?
Yeah,
What she thought about
and
it?
she rates it S tier. She loved it.
There you go. There you friggin' everybody always hating on Extremoth.
Wait. There's a huge footnote here. And even she agrees. I cannot imagine doing that hunt with high rank gear. I just can't. Like, we're going in there with our fully augmented Fatalis sets and Divine Blessing level 5s and free meals. And I was just like, okay, this is a really fun hunt with master rank gear. I think it's really well balanced. But if you went in there with high rank stuff, oh my gosh.
Were you about to
I'd
say,
break the controller.
can you imagine? Because I did it. I can imagine it pretty good. It's still fresh in my memory. It was so crazy. But
it traumatized a lot of people, it seems, yeah.
It was so funny because I did that, and then after I got my first kill, I remember the very next day, I went on Twitch, and 269 and Paradise were doing the hunt, and I went in there and I did it with them as well, and it was really, really fun.
Nice.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And she also really enjoyed Leshen and Ancient Leshen. Ancient Leshen was really fun, but then again, she was like watching YouTube videos, and she's like, "Hey, Dad, did you realize how bad this hunt was before they patched it?" I'm like, "What?" She's like, "Oh yeah." She's like, "They had to fix it because it was warping too much in like the final phases, and people couldn't hit it, and they would just be getting spammed by the crows, and they couldn't get to the monster in time."
Yeah, I
she
remember
says that they revised it just a few days later. I'm like, "Sheesh."
Yeah, I remember that. I did it when it was still like buggy as hell, which might have contributed to the fact that I didn't actually enjoy that fight very much. I thought that the Leshen was too small. You know, because
Really?
it's just a humanoid looking creature.
Yeah.
He feels very small when compared to even like a great Jagras or even just a small monster. It just feels too small. There's not that much area to hit, which is why I ended up going with like Sword and Shield, because I couldn't get any useful time out of the gun lance on him. So I was just like, screw this, Sword and Shield. But that
what was really fun though, like with multiple players, is like the fact that you can use the Dural's Igni to release the other players that they get trapped in the trees. That's really fun.
Yeah, I mean that fight, the Ancient Leshen, if I remember correctly, was one of those fights that is also scaled for 4 players.
Yeah, exactly. So we did that as 2 of us, but then again, we have master rank gear, so it worked out. And the thing is, she really hates Jagras now. Like the basic Jagras.
Why?
Because she's just traumatized. Well, she doesn't like the fact, you know how like the pack of Jagras all sick on you during the hunt?
Oh, right, because they got like the red eyes and stuff going. Yeah.
That annoyed her to no end. And so I was like, okay, let me get in there with my switch axe. And I just press B to win. It's just like like the hit lag was like, it looked like it went down to 10 FPS because the hit lag everywhere because I was hitting everybody. Oh, it felt so good.
I can imagine the freaking thing, the massive explosion.
I didn't realize. So in Japan, apparently I don't know if this vegetable exists outside Japan because I don't know. Burdock. It's like a long, stringy, almost root-like vegetable. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
Yeah, it might be a Japan thing, but that's what Japanese people call Leshen, is burdock, because it looks like little vegetable roots. But,
I don't know. I feel like there were more interesting monsters in Witcher that they could have brought. Like even just the Griffin in Witcher, I feel would have made a more interesting monster than Leshen. But people have told me, no, we really like Leshen, so I guess it's just not for me. But it was still the thing about Leshen. I feel like it was the first time that I did the Geralt quest. That is when it's really fun, and you get to see the Gajalaka King and all of that stuff. You do all those little interactions, and you have to help the Puke to survive. Did you do that? Did you get the Puke to survive to get the attack deco?
I did, but she hasn't yet, and it's still bothering her. So she's like, maybe I'm gonna. She said she might try bowgun just for the fact that you get healing shots and you can shoot it at it and heal it, so it makes it a little bit easier to keep it alive.
No, the easiest way is to get, at least if I
Dust,
remember correct,
you know.
you can gather materials to make
Yeah.
dusts, and then you just like
Yeah.
you spam dusts to keep it up. That's how I did it, I think. But
Yeah,
that
but she
that
has a
was
hard
really
time
cool
with that
quest.
quest. Like she doesn't like the armor that they give you, and she just has a hard time with the monster soloing it,
Yeah.
which makes sense. But how about you? What have you been playing?
I mean, pretty much Final Fantasy 14 a whole lot because I have friends that have been playing it, so it's just really fun to level up alt jobs while they're leveling their own classes. But besides that, I actually I sent a message to my friend at Nintendo, and I just asked him, "Hey, are you guys distributing Bravely Default 2 or is Square distributing?" And he's like, "Oh, it's us. I'll send you a key in a second." I'm like, I didn't even ask, but sure.
Wow.
I don't mind.
That's right. Bravely Default 2 came out, didn't it?
Yeah, Bravely Default 2 came out, and I didn't really play the demo because, usually when I play a demo, I like playing demos for games that I don't know what they're going to be like, right? So that you know what the game's like.
Yeah.
Bravely Default, I feel like I didn't finish the first one, but I feel like I played enough of it that I know what this game is about. And so they sent me a key. I started playing. I'm probably going to make a video on it later. I want to play a significant chunk of it to get like my thoughts out there. And it's basically the Bravely Default that you know, but it looks so beautiful on the new visuals that they got going. I mean, it's still the same art style and stuff, but it's just higher fidelity. And
Yeah.
I don't know, dude. There's just something about that classical JRPG it's just the thing that you know. You go in there, you press your brave, you attack 4 times, you beat the crap out of everything, you figure out the weaknesses, you unlock new jobs. One of the first jobs that you unlock is actually like a Vanguard, which is just big, beefy armor dude with shield. And I'm like, wow. It's almost like you knew it was for me.
Yeah, the game made it just for you with a shield.
Yeah, with a shield, and I can actually have an axe as well. I don't remember if that's like the best weapon for that class, but yeah, I've been playing axe and shield, big meaty armor, and I thought it was really cool that the black mage in Bravely Default has a fedora.
What's a fedora?
It's a hat. The hat that you don't know what a fedora hat is. The hat that Indiana Jones uses. The hat Indiana Jones uses. Come on.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Fedora. I've never heard the word fedora in my life before. Oh.
A fedora hat is like one of the most common hats. Like a lot of people wear them because of Indiana Jones. But so he's got a fedora and he's got like a black trench coat. And I know that a lot of people that have watched any material on Bravely Default 2, they'll be aware of this. But the funny thing is there's this other content creator who's a friend of mine. His name is a German spy, and he dresses in real life just like that, like a black trench coat, and I don't know if it's a fedora, but it's also like a black hat. That's like his signature look. So I look at it and I was like, that's Franz. I know him.
Oh, wow.
I sent out a tweet like, what are you doing in my game? And he's called Elvis, of all things. The name of that character is Elvis.
You're like, aha, it's you.
It was just really funny, just like, exploring that stuff. And I'm still very, very early in, but it's just.
So how's the music so far? Because Revo did the music again, right? The same band that did the first game.
I mean, the music sounded very familiar. The last time I played Bravely Default was years and years ago, but like the combat music, the second you start playing, so to me it was pretty much the same, but it looks like it's remastered with a couple of more instruments here and there or something.
Yeah. So you might be too early in to know, but the only thing I've seen about the game so far was a few Japanese tweets talking about the loading being incredibly long from when you leave the first village to go out to the overworld. I don't know if that's like an issue or it's like, well, you're not really going in between the two that often anyway, so it doesn't matter.
I didn't notice the loading being that long. I mean, there's a load screen. I think the problem is that now that the new consoles are out, people are starting to get used to the friggin' super SSDs, and to me, I don't think it's like, yeah, I noticed that it's longer than some of the games that I'm playing because now most of the things I play are on SSDs, and that's not as fast as an SSD, but I wouldn't
Yeah.
say that's like, oh man, it took like 10 years to get out of the city. No, I didn't think it was a problem. Like, not a huge
Yes, I
problem
mean, I
anyway.
had that on my list for games I was looking forward to, and I didn't even get it yet. And
Yeah,
that's the power of
it's-
Monster Hunter, right? It just destroys you. It destroys your to-do list.
It pretty much.
And that includes sleep, it includes meals, everything just goes bye-bye.
And it was particularly because last week it was like Outriders demo came out, news about Monster Hunter came out, State of Play, PlayStation State of Play came out, and on top of it, Bravely Default also came out. It's like everything in the span of like 2 days or something, and I'm just like, dude. Like, we had almost no news on anything for like a week, and then suddenly in 2 days, bam, here's all this stuff. But
Well, this happens every early March, end of February. It's really because of fiscal stuff, and as a kid, I never understood that, but now as an adult, it's just hilarious because now you know exactly when the big beats are coming. It's like, okay, everyone's got to get their little boost, before the end of the year, which for most companies in Japan is the end of March. So it's funny.
But I guess I also played a little bit of Outriders, which was surprising a little bit on the positive, but still has a couple of things I feel they need to iron out. But Bravely Default's been a ton of fun. And obviously we have a ton of Monster Hunter Rise stuff to talk about. But just before we get into that, you did not see State of Play, right?
I glanced through it. I didn't watch it because it was like really early morning here in Japan. It was like 7 a.m.
And
so I watched some highlights. So I saw the Final Fantasy trailer.
Yeah,
and
so it's like
I
not
think
a whole
I saw
lot.
one other thing, but I skimmed it and I was just like, okay, there's nothing in here for me.
There was not a whole lot there, really.
Has there ever been though? I've never enjoyed the State of Plays.
State of Plays
I've never
always
enjoyed
seem
them.
to be like, here's our B tier stuff with a couple of exceptions here and there, right?
Yeah.
And
I mean, I like the fact that they have shows. That's
Yeah.
good. It's just it's not like Nintendo Directs or anything like that.
one of the things that I like is that Kena game, Kena, the one who's got the staff and the little
Yeah.
blubby things. Like, do you like that one? What do you think about that one?
It looks great, but at this point I'm so divorced from the idea that I'll ever get a PS5 that I've kind of put it out of my mind, and I'm just like, you know what? Give it a year, whatever exclusive window they have. Once it comes to another platform, I'll play it there.
Wow.
It looks great. Everything I've seen in there just looks gorgeous, and the gameplay looks fun. I would love to play it, but
Well, Here's
I don't think
the
that's
interesting
happening.
thing, because I'm about to blow your mind if all you saw from State of Play was that. So, number one, the thing from Final Fantasy VII, right? That they're doing
Yeah.
the remaster for PlayStation 5 and all that stuff's a free upgrade.
Yeah.
Apparently, the DLC
Yeah,
is
and they
only
got,
going to
a-
be available on the PlayStation 5 version.
Yeah, which
I thought that was a little bit dirty. I was like, okay, but listen,
I mean,
are you ready? Are you ready to laugh? Because if you haven't
Well,
seen this news, now you're gonna laugh. You're gonna laugh
I'll just
real hard.
before we get to that, I'll just say, in defense, I always try to think in the defense of publishers because this is how I think. I have to imagine that they must have thought, "Hey, PlayStation 5's coming out
Yeah,
end of 2020, right? We've got an expansion coming out over half a year later, probably, right? From that date, a half a year later." They probably assumed the adoption rate would be much higher. No one, when they started to develop on that, there's no way they would have foresaw just the
it's
horrible
not
launch
even
of both
it's not
both
even the
systems just
adoption rate. It's just straight up the availability.
availability.
Because I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
the
so I
adoption
think-
rate would be higher if the availability was there.
I would say it is unfortunate that they weren't, or they're not committing to trying to make a downscaled version. But I mean, it is what it is. Once you decide the specs in which you build towards, it's almost impossible to backpedal and then try to bring it down. So it's unfortunate though. It really is.
But anyway,
Blow my mind.
I'm gonna blow your mind. How would you like to have a mobile Final Fantasy VII Battle Royale?
You?
Yeah, that's a thing. They did it.
No.
They did that.
I'm not surprised. At this point, there's going to be a Final Fantasy Mahjong game, a Final Fantasy dating simulator, a Final Fantasy 7 puzzle shooter, bubble shooter. They're making it a huge like franchise thing right now. So it's just that the thing is, it's another thing that I'm so divorced from that it doesn't bother me, because
like,
I have the best memories ever. I think we talked about this. Like my memories of FF7 are so good and golden because that was high school for me.
yeah.
That I never wanted to go back to fudge with that because my memories are golden. I'm not touching that. So I never played the remake. I have no interest to play it. I've never seen the remake stuff. I don't care about the side games at all. Crisis Core is probably the last one I ever played.
I've played the remake and I love the remake. I think the remake is amazing. Like I can't go back and play Final Fantasy 7 like I tried because it's the visuals and the mechanics it just feels way too dated for me. Like I can do some really old games, but like Final Fantasy 7, I couldn't do it. I tried, I couldn't do it. But like the remake, I loved it. I thought it was really good. I know that a lot of people didn't like it, but whatever. So I'm somewhat invested, right? And to see them just go that route, I was like, oh, okay. Now, and then they announced something else, which was weird. But basically it's like the entirety of the Final Fantasy VII timeline in a video game. So like Crisis Core.
Oh yeah, I saw some screenshots of that. And
Dirge of whatever, I think, and just like I don't know, 5 or 6 more games that I've never heard of. But basically all of that in some kind of episodic mobile video game. And I'm just like, what? Why can't it be on the Switch? Why can't it be on anything other than a phone?
I saw a few screenshots of that, and my only thing where I saw that, I was like, is this premium? If it's premium, I'll buy it. Like if it's like $5, $10, so we can just buy it and play through it, and it'll be like playing the old games, but with a much more shrunk down experience. So it's not, like you said, it's very sluggish, right? The older games. If they got rid of that and they had essentially the same game and you could just buy it,
the thing is,
if it's a free microtransaction, no, I'm not doing it.
I don't think it's the same game though. It's like they have a new combat system, because I saw a video from Maximilian. No, Maximilian is Maximilian dude. He loves Final Fantasy, so he was like doing an analysis on it, and I was seeing the video, and it looks like it's going to have some kind of ATB Final Fantasy 13 type system, because it's got like the visuals of Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter. You can see where my mind is. It's got the visuals.
You're already going out. You're like main topic.
It's got the visuals of the remake on when they're in combat. So it's not going to be exactly like the OG Final Fantasy. So I don't know. The thing that also bothers me is that it's episodic. So it's like, what, you're gonna have this going on for like 2-3 years with 5 or 6
years. Wait, did you just say 2 to 3 years on Final Fantasy?
No.
More like 7 to 10.
I don't know. I was just saying, for that one
years?
episodic game, seriously, 7 years?
Wow.
I don't know, dude. It's weird. It's like, I just wish that they would put that on Switch. Just put it on Switch and I'll play it. Like, I don't want to play that on a phone. Like, I told you, I lack the tactile feedback. I can't play games on phones. I just can't do it. It doesn't work for me.
I don't play generally on phones either, mainly because I like you said, the tactile feedback.
Yeah.
I like the idea of dedicated consoles where I don't get distracted. I don't need my work email. I don't need messages. I don't want any of that. Even if I could turn it off, it's not the same. It's still there in the background, behind the curtain, saying hello. It's like, get out of there. It's like, but I tell you, I am going to play. Today they released a trailer for Fantasian, which is a game by the father of Final Fantasy, Sakaguchi, and his company, Mistwalker. They were paid by Apple. They've been doing this for years. They've been developing this. It's a full-on JRPG. The hook here is that they physically created all the environments that the game takes place in as actual dioramas, like huge, like Nightmare Before Christmas levels of like creation. Yeah. And then they put the digital characters inside those. So it's a very artistic game. It's got music by Uematsu, who's like the best composer. That's Final Fantasy VII for you there. Sign me up, and that's going to be Apple Arcade. So, like, I don't know if it's this year, but it looks really cool. But it's got this cool little idea that if you don't want to do, it still has random encounters, which I know is kind of like really in 2021, whatever year it is. But the thing is they got a cool idea where if you don't want to do random encounters, you can stock them. So when you encounter a random encounter, you send them to another dimension, and then you can do sort of like a rampage mode where you do one battle against like 5 random encounters all at once. And because your spells have like an aiming system, it's like a shooting game. They have like an arc to them, so you can hit like 15 enemies all at once and stuff like that. It's really interesting. It's a cool idea, and that's what I love about his games is that they're very simple. And they always have like 1 or 2 gameplay hooks, and that's it. They're like the old school types of games that we loved as kids, like not overly complex. Just give me a cool mechanic and let's just play with it. And so I'm pretty excited for that. I just hope it doesn't come out soon because Monster Hunter is just
we got something else that's coming out soon. And on that topic, I figure we might as well just dive into the topic that a lot of people can't wait to hear us talk about, which is the Monster Hunter news. Now, you have some interesting information for us in regards to the digital event, so tell us all. Yeah,
so it's
about
interesting.
That.
So like what we've got like 3 different things coming up, right? So we've got the digital event, which is I thought it was all pre-recorded, but it doesn't seem like it is. And then that's on. I don't check your dates, okay? So don't blame me if I said it's March 8th and it's like the 7th for you. Like don't at me with that kind of stuff. But it's March 9th for us here, I think. I don't know. It's like in 5 days. It's like less than a week away. So make sure you keep up on stuff. But they've got a digital event. Then the next day they've got like Q&A and tutorials with the developer, whatever. And then on the 11th they have like live, I think their Twitch channel, they're going to be doing community hunts, which I think is a pretty much dead giveaway that they're going to have another demo.
Yeah.
Because how are you going to do community hunts on a game in which there's no more online? Hello? It's like they just basically just told you there's going to be a demo. So the Japanese game site 4Gamer, who's a Japanese media site here, they ran an article and a press release from Capcom about the digital event where they had details about the actual program. And so it seems it's going to run for 1 hour and 50 minutes, so almost 2 hours long. It's going to be a big event. They said they're going to open up with this is interesting. So an opening calligraphy performance.
They're going to have,
so I don't know if you know this, but
Guildmaster Hojo on top of Tetsukabra.
No, it's not that. We're talking calligraphy with the letters, the kanji. So this is where I'm really confused because a lot of this is Japan focused, but they're going to have it on English as well. It's not going to make sense to a lot of people, but they're using, there's not a lot of famous calligraphists, obviously. It's kind of like a dying art, so to say. But there is a young lady who does calligraphy. She's like in her 20s. But she does all the calligraphy for when you watch the Japanese versions of the trailers. There's real stylistic, characters.
Oh yeah, when you hear
like when they write down,
you hear those drums, dum 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 dum, and it shows up the stuff.
Yeah. So she does that. So I think she's going to be in a hall doing a performance of her writing some stuff out, which is going to be really neat and really set the theme, I think. Then they're going to have.
Look. It's not as cool as Master Hojo on top of a Tetsukabra, but because of COVID, we had to cut the budget, and instead you get calligraphy specialist lady who is going to do her best to entertain us with calligraphy stuff. But still, I really want Guildmaster Hojo riding a Tetsukabra, making little drawings. I'm all about that.
Yeah, so then they've got a new. They do this in Japan a lot for the new games. Is that they'll have they have like a new commercial, and they always decide what talent or what celebrity they're going to use. It's sort of like like we had Yamada-san for World and Iceborne. He was awesome, right? The guy Diablos, and I'm sure you've seen the commercials, but or maybe you haven't. But there's a lot of fun commercials here in Japan.
I wish
oh really?
I had.
Oh my gosh.
You gotta link me that stuff later.
I gotta link you this stuff. It's funny, but anyway, they have an actress who's also a big Monster Hunter fan, so she's gonna be like starring in the new commercial, and she's gonna be there, and they're gonna have like a talk session between her and the other two, which is again, it confuses me. Is this gonna be part of the global presentation? Because that makes no sense to the Western audience because they're not even getting that commercial. So I don't know. I have to check my times and find out. But they're going to debut a new commercial.
I have the times here. It's 6 a.m. PST or 12,
it looks like it's the
14
same.
GMT. It's the same? Okay.
Yeah, I think so. Then they're gonna have a talk session between her, Ryozo, and Ichinose. Then they're gonna have a live play session where they're gonna be playing the game. Then they're gonna do a product showcase where I imagine they're gonna show off all the physical products as well.
Yeah. And merch and stuff
They're
like
gonna
that.
have probably offline. They're gonna do a photo session with the press afterwards for pictures. Then they're gonna have a live song performance by the lady who sings the for Hinoa.
Oh, that's going to be awesome.
So
dude.
they're going to do a live performance. Then they're going to have a developer stage presentation where they're going to do some more live gameplay and developer talking about the game and going through. They said in interviews that they're going to be talking about a Rampage. They're going to reveal details about all the moves that we can see in the trailers, but we don't have in the demo. So we've got a whole. Basically, they're going to open up everything. They're going to tell us about most of the good stuff that we don't know about yet.
So it's like you're saying it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to the West, but maybe that's the whole point. Maybe it's them trying to introduce the West to the more Japanese culture that, Monster Hunter derives a lot of their inspiration from, particularly for Monster Hunter Rise, because Monster Hunter Rise is so based around Japan and just the culture in general that I think it would actually make sense to try and get the Western audience like, look, here's some of the stuff that we care about. We know that a lot of people are going to look at that and it's like, oh, boring. But, there might be a subset of people that look at it and like, huh, that's interesting. Like, I know that I am always interested when it comes to Japanese culture stuff. So I'm definitely down for watching the calligraphy stuff and particularly the songs. Like, I want to hear the song of, what is it called? Kimura's Purification or whatever. Remember? That's the same lady that sings that one as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
yeah. And so this is really interesting.
We're getting news live.
The link that I shared from 4Gamer, which was the official press release for all this, has now been deleted. Did they not? Were they not supposed to reveal this yet?
Oh,
whoops! Sorry, Capcom, if you're listening to this podcast, and I wasn't supposed to talk about it. It was public, man. Like that stuff was. There was an official press release about this, so like, don't be mad at me.
Yeah. Listen, guys, if there's anything wrong, just reach out. We'll take the video down. I'll edit it, remove this bit. But if you don't tell us otherwise.
Anyways. But I'm curious about, well, there's a lot of stuff we're curious about, but I don't know. It just looks like if they're going to have live performances, I think that's awesome.
That is pretty cool.
I don't know, or maybe they can't do it live. Maybe something happened. Maybe they realized one of them caught a cold and they can't do it live, and so they quick took down the news. I don't know. Huh. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. That is weird. It's like we had this detail thing and then suddenly they took it down. It might actually be because something unexpected happened and they're not allowed to do all of these things. You're right.
Yeah, maybe because like they
lockdowns and stuff.
Still stuff like that. Yeah. And like I was watching, I'm a big player of the mobile game Princess Connect from Psy Games. It's a Japanese game. They also had a very long live session where they were going to have a part where they were singing and they had to cancel it at the very last minute. And I don't know why. They never said why. So I don't know. Maybe this session, the plans are changing. So take everything I just said with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
But that was an official press release.
We can only speculate about why things happen sometimes. But yeah, that's the information that we had in regards to the digital events. Which, go ahead.
Yeah, but I swear we had like 2 digital events. We had like a media event last week where like Eric's Gaming and Japanese media, everyone had these like huge media hands-on with Somnicanth and Kezu game and Bishaten gameplay all over the place and tons of news. We got a lot to go through later.
Eric's didn't actually get hands-on. It was they sent footage, I think.
Pre-recorded video, yeah.
Pre-recorded footage. But I was super happy to see that they weren't doing the just IGN exclusivity and they reached out to Eric. So I was like, that's freaking awesome. Yeah. Like it was really cool to see the interview that he did with Ryozo. I just wish it was like videotape because I always like seeing the. Yeah. I have this thing that I just love talking to people and seeing the reactions that they're having. Right. So I even remember at one point I interviewed who was it? Creative Assembly about one of their Total War games. And I was just so interested that I just, the interview slot was like 15 minutes and I just stayed there chatting with him for like 30 because just like talking about video games. So it would be interesting to see, the expressions and stuff when they're talking about this stuff. Yeah. But anyway.
So I guess before we get sidetracked into that, I want to get your opinion about the digital event coming up. Like, I know we're both very interested to see what they're going to show for Monster Hunter Stories too. Like
Yes.
that's going to be interesting because that's going to be like the first reveal probably of actual like news about what the game is. But what are your thoughts going into the digital event and it's like 2 days of straight Monster Hunter Rise in your face.
3 days of straight Monster Hunter Rise in your face because there's March 8th, March 9th, and March 11th, which still doesn't have a timing.
We don't have that here in
Japan. It's actually interesting because you just said that there's going to be like a live play session on the first digital event. Actually,
that's what it said, but the thing is, I also saw places where they said it was pre-recorded. So, but when I say live, I mean like they're playing the build. I don't mean like live like on Twitch. Sorry, I mean they're playing it.
I think the thing is they have the whole event bundled up. And some of the stuff that you said is where we're getting March 9th because they said here, new Monster Hunter Rise gameplay, hunting tutorials, and director Q&A. So you specifically said talk session with Honda, Ryozo, Ichinose. That's probably on the 9th, I would imagine. So, yeah. We'll see how that whole thing pans out. Right now it's a little bit messy, but yeah, just be ready. 8th and 9th, big things are going to be happening.
Man.
And shortly after that, there's going to be a demo. But now we're going to get into the juicy stuff that we got to see last week. And I looked at the IGN video, which they uploaded. I think you also shared on Twitter the Japanese version of that video, where they even showed the meal animation for the hub, which the meal animations look, as usual, friggin' gorgeous.
It's crazy. Like I always love what they do in every game for these things, but this one they got a song in there now and everything. Like, Good gosh.
It was really.
I was speechless. I was just tickled. I feel that like little funny feelings all over my body. I'm like, this is just amazing. Oh my God. Like I'm not skipping that.
The details of all this stuff that they do is really, really awesome. But during that footage, they basically give us a nice little tour of Kimura Village. And one of the first things that we saw were the chat bubbles from the different villagers and stuff when you were running around Kimura. And obviously, back when we had Eric's last time in the podcast, I kind of brought this up because of the Rampage mode. When the NPCs would come up and help you, I was talking about the potential for relationships and stuff just like we had in Tokiden, which was something where you have relationships with some of these NPCs, not necessarily romantic ones, just like, JRPG stuff where you socially interact with each other and you become more friends and stuff like that. And I was wondering if these chat bubbles could be related to some mechanic like that, or if they could be potentially how we handle villager requests instead of just being on the quest board.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because in the older games, you used to have like that little exclamation mark above people's heads when they had something worth noting to say. And other than that, they were just kind of static and just sitting there. But this gives me vibes of almost, was it like, have you ever played Okami?
No, I haven't.
They had did the same thing when you walk past somebody, you get a little speech bubble above their head, and it's kind of interesting because it's actually kind of like a call to action because you see something like, oh, what's that about? And and you get interested and you go to talk to them and you get to listen to hear more about it. I don't know, maybe they're just improving the entire chat system and maybe they're going to color code it so that okay, this is an important dialogue to have. I don't know. I do feel a little weird that if it's always there, though, I would love an option to turn it off only because it could start to feel cluttered if everyone always has bubbles on their heads.
Yeah. It's one of those things like the first time you see it, like, oh my God, there's so much happening in Kimura. But then like after you get back to the village for like the 20th time, you're like, won't these people just shut the hell up so I can get on with my business, right?
Yeah. Well, at that point, you're just hunting for who has something important to say, right?
Yeah. some kind of
I don't know.
filters or something. But yeah, it's interesting that there's so many chat bubbles popping up while you were going through it throughout different portions of the video. Do you think
I
it's
feel
possible
so bad for
that-
the Logue team, man. Can you imagine having to deal with like the length limits for all the different languages with bubbles like that? Oh,
Oh my god.
it must have been horrible.
I never even think about that stuff, right? Because like I just think about what's it going to look like in English, because they're not really going to localize it to Portuguese, so I don't have to worry about that. And even if they did, I'd probably still play it in English, so I don't have to. I just think about the English version, and then. But now that you mentioned that, imagine the German version. Jesus Christ!
And that's what I was gonna say. Everybody in localization, the first thing that comes to mind is, oh, how are we gonna fit the German?
It's like, what is it about the German language that just sounds so aggressive? Like you say the most harmless thing, and it sounds like you're threatening someone to beat them to death.
Just long words and line breaking through everything is a bad move. So
Yeah. But do you think there's potential for them to put like relationship type social stuff into Monster Hunter?
I think so, yeah. And I think Eric's mentioned that he's suspecting the same thing, which is they have a very specific term that they're using for the chit chat. It's kind of interesting because normally you would just have talk, right? Like in Japanese it would be the same, just talk. But even in Japanese, there's a different term they're using this time. It's like it literally means chit chat, sekabanashi. It's just talking to them about what's going on. So it makes it feel more personal. So, and knowing now that we see hints that all the villagers can wield a weapon, right? So we know like Yori can use a charged blade. What's her name from the shop? It's so early in the morning. Sorry. She uses a heavy bow gun. The two sisters use a lance and a bow. It's like it would be pretty cool if like the more you talk to them and you do like you get to know them, you do maybe their optional quests. Maybe you unlock them so that you can use them in Rampage quests. Like they become available as selected NPCs to help you out. That would be dope. I would really like that.
It just got me thinking once again to like this is one of the reasons why I like the fact that Eric's got to interview them, because one of the questions that he made was like, you guys gonna let Hojo come help us riding his Tetsukabra into a rampage? And they're like, we're not really talking about that or something like that. We can't confirm that. But it's like, I think that's the question in everyone's mind. Like ever since I saw the villagers, I'm like, dude, Hojo, Tetsukabra, Rampage, let's go.
But he's an artist. He's just going to sit there drawing while the little Tetsu just spits stuff at monsters.
He's going to paint them a drawing of violence and bloodshed. You'll see.
That reminds me, once we do get a really nice screenshot of him in motion, if we ever do, I should make a meme of I had fun with the Detroit Become Human memes where they tell the android to draw something, and it's like an emotional grand moment of him drawing something.
Oh no.
Hojo draws like a Lagombi logo, and oh my god, it's like,
it looks amazing.
Draw me something you've never seen before.
It's good.
You're all about Hojo.
Yeah, I mean, it's got a baby Tetsukabra. I mean, it is what it is. I'm a big fan of Tetsukabra. So one of the next things that we see, and I know that you're excited about this, we already talked a little bit about the meal animation in the Gathering Hub, but we actually see a little bit more details about the canteen. Does the Japanese video actually had different stuff from the English besides the Hub canteen, or was it the same? Or did you not watch the
English one? At just a glance, it looked like it was the same. Yeah. So like I was just glancing at the skills. But I love the idea that instead of having one meal and it's like, okay, here's a set of 3 skills that might activate, you actually get to choose all 3 now and say, okay, I want this one, I want that one, I want that one. You customize your dango.
And
that's hilarious.
In World, the system was like you could usually get 2 skills unless you wanted to get like the big 6 things skill. But I like the fact that the dangos are actually reflected as you are selecting them. The colors that show up for the ones that you eat are the actual colors of the things that you chose. I thought that was pretty cool. And did you notice the percentage of activation chance on the one that they chose?
I did not. Was it high?
Dude, like the wealthy one or whatever it was 90%. Then the one after it was 85%. And then actually it might have been a little bit lower.
It's a trap, man. You know how the
high.
desire sensor works. It's a trap. It could be 99%. Don't matter.
That's the fun part, because when they ate the dango, like the 90% skill didn't activate. And I was like, what do you mean? The only skill that activated was like the lowest chance. I'm like, what is this? Desire sensor even in your trailer videos. What is going on?
I don't know if World and Iceborne didn't have it because I don't remember it, but I saw some goofy skills in there, which I really enjoy, which is like, there was one skill that says like it increases like your attack power if you do a certain gesture.
Yes.
And that kind of stuff I miss. It's so stupid. No one really uses it, but now with the radial menu, the fact that we can like, you could actually,
put the gestures.
You can have a shortcut for them. They might actually be useful, because in old games they weren't, because you couldn't do them on the fly so easily.
In the
but
old
if I
games,
can sit there and flex really fast and I get a little power boost, oh man, someone mounts a monster, I'm going to be sitting there and flexing before they drop it.
Yeah, and in the old ones, it was the shadow boxing or whatever thing. When you on this one, it was show off 2. That was the gesture show off 2. It was specifically the number 2 gesture. Like, okay.
2. It will buff you or something. That's hilarious.
Yeah, but so that's a thing. And I was wondering, what is the motley mix? Is that where you go to like cook your food or something? Like that's an option that you have there. You have the option eat a meal, and then the second option that was there in English was motley mix, which I was this might be the thing where you get to, you give them some raw meat or something, and then they cook it for you. What does it say in Japanese? Yes. Oh, you're checking on the video. We're checking on live.
I need to check the Japanese here. Let's see. That was not an official video.
And
so
the
I have to go track down.
While you're looking for that, did you see anything that indicated if there were fresh dangos? That doesn't seem to be a thing.
I don't remember, but because I never did a dissection of the trailer yet, only because I've been so distracted with Iceborne, and I'm going to go crazy on Rise when it comes, but I would imagine they're going to have fresh ones. I mean, that's always been a thing, right?
I noticed that they had something there which was like today's special or whatever, and that appeared to be what buffed the chance for one of the meals to be 90%, because it was the wealthy Dango special or whatever, which was you get additional zenny at the end of the quest, I think. But I didn't notice any other indication of potentially, here's the fresh dangos. But yeah, I was very curious about the menu option stuff.
So So where was
It was
this motley mix?
It was very much at the very beginning, right before, immediately after the chat balloons, they go in the canteen, and then the menu is there to
the English version.
Eat a meal.
We're going to do some live compare here, guys.
Yeah. Gaijin's on the case. So he's going to figure out what this motley mix.
Yeah, so we got ways to pay, effects, health, stamina, daily special.
No. It's before that one. Man. It's before that menu.
Oh, yeah. Eat a meal, motley mix,
motley
and gestures.
Mix. Yeah. There you go. What does it say in Japanese? Oh,
there's an actually really interesting choice that they have in Japanese here. Hang on a second.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Okay, so there's actually a few different menus that we don't have in the English version. So when you sit down, eat a meal is the same. Motley mix is the term that how you use. I don't know the English term, but they always had it where you could request like them to cook like raw meat for you, and then you'd come back after a request and it'd be cooked. That's what it is.
See, I knew it. I said it from the beginning. It was the thing where you cook your meat. There you go.
Yeah, that's what it is. What does motley mix mean? In
English? Exactly. That's the thing. I have no idea what motley mix is supposed to mean.
Motley mix?
It doesn't make any sense to me.
That feels really... Because they should have a term for this, because the Yorozu Ryori is the same...
It's just straight up request rife roast or whatever it was.
I want to double check. If I'm wrong, I'm going to be so upset.
But yeah, I think it's pretty much the same. Then we have the meal animations. I'm assuming that the gestures that you can make, we see in one of the trailers, they're doing one of those little helicopter things that you can do with your hand. It's just kind of like,
Yeah,
that's probably one of the gestures that you can do. And then you can probably also drink a whole bunch of ale and get drunk.
yeah. I don't know why they call it the Motley Mix. I think unless maybe they changed it instead of now, in past games you could only give one like fish or one type of meat and then they would do it. Maybe
Yeah.
now you can just give them a shish kebab. You can give them like, okay, I'll give you 2 wet fish, 3 raw meats, and this, and they'll make like a thing out of it. Maybe
Because like in World, you can just straight up give them a Rathalos' tail and they'll cook that stuff for you. I want you to cook me a Rathalos tail, please. And they'll do it.
Okay, so the option is in English. I thought it was really interesting is that how we always generally order the same thing usually? Like we eat for Moxie or we eat for Bombardier or we eat for insurance a lot. There's an option saying order the usual.
Yeah. That I noticed as well.
That's neat.
That is neat.
Motley Mix. Okay, yeah, because when I saw that on your bullet point list, I'm like, what the hell
is a Motley Mix? Yeah, exactly. Those were my thoughts too. What the hell's a Motley Mix? But it looks like I was correct in my assumption when I made my analysis video. I was just like, this is clearly the thing for the meat, but weird ass name.
Oh man, I love this skill that I'm looking. This initial skill on one of the Dango is, it might be the same in English. It decreases the respawn period for collection points. It makes them respawn faster.
No, I don't think I saw that one.
And those things respawn in like pretty fast, like 3 minutes. Like maybe if it makes it even half, that's great. I like that.
All the ores you can mine. All the honey you can gather.
Yeah, the build up gesture, that is so funny.
So after that, we get obviously the meal animation, and then they show us the Buddy Island, which there was a lot of stuff in the Buddy Island. We had the dude who scouts buddies for us, which pretty much shows us that the scouting system works like previous Monster Hunter games. Now, I needed to ask you something, which is, do the Palamutes not get active abilities? Because I haven't seen anything about Palamute active abilities yet. Like I saw on your Twitter post that you had pointed out they had skills, like the passive skills.
Well, they had, yeah.
So those are the same, I say the same, but those are similar to the ones that we had previously for the Prowlers and stuff. You could like select, I want to have, I don't know, boomerang something to increase the damage of boomerangs, or I want to have this thing, attack up small or something like that. So you can have those in Palamutes and you have those in Palicos, but I didn't see anything that indicates that Palamutes actually have any of the active abilities, which I guess that is going to be the big difference. Like their active ability is you can ride it. That's it.
Yeah, well, I mean, the active abilities also is the fact that a Palico only gets one weapon, right? You equip it with the weapon and it just does its thing and it's got its skills, but the Palamutes, they also have the scroll items, which I thought was really interesting. And the scroll items is just one choice you can have for a weapon. And you could do stuff like it creates, when it attacks, it does like a blast dust or heal dust. Like there's other effects that you can get from those.
How do you use those, do you think?
They actually have in the Japanese videos, they actually showed it off. How they're done. I haven't gone into it horribly detailed at this point.
I don't think they show that in the English one. Almost certain I didn't see anything about.
Yeah, and you can change like the attack patterns. Do you want them close to the monster? Do you want them close to the hunter? Do you want them keeping their distance?
So that works like kind of like the stuff that we had for Prowlers, where you would say like attack small monsters first, attack large monsters first, don't attack monsters at all, that type of stuff.
Yeah. So I feel really bad. I should have did a deep dive on this kind of stuff. It's just I've been saving myself a little bit. I'm not trying to avoid it by any means. It's just it was like an information overload at
it was
11
at
like 11 p.m. out of nowhere, and none of this is on official channels. So it's like I'm running through all the different Japanese media, all the different Western media, trying to figure out who had what, and it's all a little bit different, and it's exciting.
Yeah, it was definitely kind of weird to. Basically I was dissecting the IGN video because that was the one where I could read the stuff that was on there, and I was like, okay, let's look at this one. But there was even more things.
But there's a lot of interesting little tidbits. So if you really do dissect it, like the skill list for the cats, there was stuff saying blast and hellfire resistance or negation. So it tells us that hellfire, whatever they're calling it in English, is it hellfire for
It was hellfire, yes.
Yeah, so hellfire is it's in the category of blast, which I found really interesting. So I was discussing with Yuna, we were trying to think like, what could it actually do? I'm like, one idea I had, and I could be totally wrong. I was like, wouldn't it be cool is if you're infected with hellfire, like with blast, you have to evade to get rid of it, right?
With hellfire, if you evade, it gets worse.
What if you what if you have to attack to get rid of it? It works like the frenzy.
Or what if you have to stay
still?
Know. Like a bleed, otherwise you explode. And if you dodge, you would explode faster.
I don't know, but his whole thing is it's the yokai motif of like the enraged soldiers who died in the middle of a war, and they linger around the battlefield, as ghosts.
Yeah,
because like he kills monsters and then they come back probably as apexes or something. I don't know what the actual story is, but there's something that has to do with anger and violence. So it makes me think maybe it's tied to attack. But I like the idea that we're getting. It is a new status ailment, so that's neat.
It'll definitely be interesting to mess around in. But yeah, in regards to the scrolls, then we don't really know how they're used. I mean, I have no idea.
They have some Japanese videos where they showed them off specifically how they equip them and what they do, but it was like really short, and it's like Japanese media saying this is our assumption of what we saw. So I don't want to take that and say this is exactly how it works.
They're consumables basically, right? The scrolls?
No, they're equipables.
Oh.
I know this, yeah.
Because it looked like on the English one, it looked like you had repeated scrolls on there, so I assumed they were consumables.
No. There was 2 scrolls that look similar. Like there's 2 green ones, but they're actually different scrolls.
Oh, okay.
They don't do the same thing.
So you equip them and you get like a different effect on the weapon of the Palamute. Interesting.
Yeah, so like the first one has it where it will slowly, gradually heal the life of the Palamute. The other one has it where when it attacks, it creates a healing dust that those around can benefit from and stuff like that. So yeah, it's
interesting. There's
and it's sitting there inside the weapon selection, so you can have 2 different weapons. So if you want like a long distance and a short distance one, maybe they'll be able to attack more frequently, or you can equip a scroll and get a special effect, and they have a more simplified attack pattern, so to say.
Interesting.
I like it.
There's a lot of depth with the Palamutes and Palicos, which is more what we've been used to with Monster Hunter. Because like comparing this system with like the Palico and World, the Palico and World is an extremely simple companion, right? It's like, here's your tool, here's your gear, Bob's your uncle. These ones is a completely different ballgame. Like if you start in World, like just be aware that the system for your companions is going to be significantly more complex. Like
I think this is where my focus is going to be when it comes to content. I think, as usual, I'm going to focus pretty heavily on the companion system and trying to dissect it and decode it and share information with people on how to make the ultimate palicos and stuff like that.
Make them super overpowered and just like break the game.
I'm assuming it's going to be the case, but I'm hoping that we can have like 24 or so of each, because I want to make 2 of all of them. I want 2 healers. I want 2 bombers. I want 2 trappers. I want 2 of everything. And I'm going to save them as sets. It's going to be great.
Completely different builds and stuff like that. Do you think they're going to do
the poison trap? The poison trap hole is back.
Dude,
I'm so happy about that.
I love that thing. I have a palico. I think I said this in my video as well. I have a palico in GU, and like I have 2 palicos. Obviously, one of them is a healer, just to straight up heal me and stuff. Then the other one's a trapper. He's constantly putting down like shock traps, poison traps. I love that stuff, dude. It's so good. It's like free traps. What's there not to like? I mean, you have the trapper as well in World, but like, I don't know, the poison trap hole is just so cool.
All I know is every time I'm seeing more about this game, the more I'm telling myself, am I actually going to be using the Palamutes a lot? I don't know because I love the felines so much. And just like the plunder blade is back. It was listed in a Japanese video. They had the plunder blade. So you can steal from monsters. There's like this cat that they had. It was a collect cat, right? This thing had some skill that allowed it to either fire off or lure endemic life. It had the explosive spinning tops. It had large barrel bombs, which you can place, shock trap, and plunder. I'm like, hello, my cat. Where have you been?
So it's like I got to be honest. When I saw this video, I also started thinking like, man, these palicos are looking hella good, dude. Because like if they got the same stuff that you could have in GU, all of those crazy skills and the ridiculous amount of depth that they had to them, like you can make some really powerful and very useful palicos, particularly if you're someone who plays solo. Like those two palicos are a friggin' godsend. So yeah.
So it's interesting is so like the cats have it's like generations where you have like how many slots, how many skills can you have active at once? So the level 5 ones they showed had 3 available slots, and you could choose 3 different skills for it to use. I'm assuming that as you level up the cat, that will increase to like 5 or 6 skills at once. But they had things listed in there where some of them now stack. So they had one saying like there was a skill that raises their overall health, like their maximum health. And it says that it can be stacked, which means if you want to have a cat that doesn't die, you can actually equip multiple health up boosts on there. So it seems like it's going to be more in depth than we've had before. So I don't think we've ever had Palico stacking skills.
Holy crap.
I'm so excited for this. Like, I'm more excited for this than I am the hunters, okay? Like, this is how much. And can you imagine with a system this in depth, if I'm crossing my fingers here, Monster Hunter Rise Ultimate, they bring back the prowlers. And
I've been thinking that they might just announce the prowlers before, even in base Rise. Because I mean, why would you have a system that is this complicated about a thing that you can't even play? Like the most complex system we had before Generations, I think was probably 4U, right? 4U was significantly simpler than the prowlers that we had in Generations. It was like in 4U, you'd pick like, I don't know, you'd pick a prowler that was like a leader of a team, and then you'd have 4 more palicos that would be as supports. And the way it would work is you would put like 4 healing palicos and you would have a bunch of healing spells. Or instead, you could have 2 healing palicos and then 2 attack palicos or something like that. And you could mix and match, and that would be kind of like the system in which 4U would work. But in GU, it was their own thing. So I almost think that it makes sense that they might just announce, and by the way, we've been keeping this from you. Here's the friggin' prowlers. And that's when Gaijin's gonna go like, oh hell yeah,
I lose.
Best Monster Hunter ever.
That's when I lose my stuff. I want to say they said in an interview that they're not in this game.
That prowlers are not in this game?
Oh. Yeah, which is why I'm thinking like maybe they're holding off. They're just, testing the system, get the balance, and then we're going to bring it back for Ultimate. That'd be sweet. Come on. Can you imagine you can also play as a dog as well? Because why would they make all these wonderful skills and animations if they didn't allow you to play as them?
I don't know about the Palamute, because when you compare, it's just doesn't have the same depth as the Palicos. Like Palicos have the active skills and stuff like that, and the dog's got like, a little dust effect. It's like, I don't know, it doesn't seem to add up comparing the two in terms of being playable. I do think it makes a lot of sense for the prowlers to return. Actually, I think you can just have a prowler riding a Palamute.
Oh my God, can you imagine? Now you just made my mind blow. Whoa, wait a second. If you have a prowler in the next game, and you could because I could see it. It's perfect.
Exactly.
Can you imagine the reveal trailer at the very end? We see a cat riding a dog going forward, and then they cut to like a montage of cats fighting.
Yeah, exactly. The prowler rides the Palamute. There you go. Problem solved. And that's how you include it.
Oh my God, that's perfect.
You have your team with the 3 prowlers and 1 Palamute.
Oh my God.
Who needs hunters?
We don't need hunters. And can you imagine a cat could climb up without a wire bug? It would make sense. They could just crawl up and climb up cliffs.
But why wouldn't you want the wire bug in your palico? Palicos with wire bugs.
No, I think that would be the. Oh my gosh.
That's just a little bit. The speculation is
pushing
reaching.
It. So okay, here's something that might interest you. So I was kind of curious whether or not the Palamutes can only do severing, or whether or not they'll have blunt weapons as well. It seems they're going to have blunt weapons because in the skill list they have for the Palamute that they were scouting, it had Slugger. It had like increased stun damage. So that tells me that there's going to be blunt weapons for the dogs to knock out monsters, and they attack pretty frequently. So I imagine that might be really fun to make a KO dog. Can you imagine like 2 KO dogs?
That does sound pretty beast. And the thing is, how fast are we going to get to those diminishing returns? Because like even in World, yeah, you can stack 5 KO in terms of like you can have secret KO 5. The problem is like after, I don't know, 4 stuns or something, you can get almost not that much. So
I don't know. Did you see the I don't know if it was in the English gameplay, but there's a type of weapon that the dogs can use, which is like it's like an iron jaw. It goes on their mouth, and they can use it to jump on and bite monsters.
I don't think so.
And then when they mount a monster and they bite them, it lures their attention away from the hunter and to the dog.
I noticed that there was something that seemed to be yeah. That's a jaw and goes in their mouth. Like I thought that was a clutch claw. Yeah.
No, I think a jaw that goes on their mouth. It's almost like brass knuckles, but it goes on their mouth and they bite the monsters with it.
I think I even made the comment like, oh, it looks like even your Palamutes get clutch claws. I didn't know that thing went in their mouth.
Yeah. They called it like the steel fang. And it allows them to jump onto a monster and bite them and pull the attention away.
Huh. Interesting.
It's so good.
So basically,
the dogs have a lot of functionality. They have dust-like effects. They have buffs. They get long distance, short distance. They can bite and lure monsters away. So, I think it's going to be really well balanced between the dogs and the cats.
I don't know, dude.
At this point, the hunters are looking bland, man.
I don't know.
You kidding me?
The second I start thinking about just the skills that we had in GU, not even thinking about anything new that they might have done for Rise, I'm just like, dude, I don't know, man. Those traps, those heals, it's like those were so friggin' good. Although I do miss a couple of things from like For You. Do you remember when you used to be able to have the Palicos combine their skill? Because I don't think that happened in in GU. They would combine and they would do
that. I thought was a hard system for people to grasp.
Yeah, but that like I remember messing around with friends of mine being like, okay, let's make the 2 ones that join and make the Wrath of Meow, and Wrath of Meow was like a serious thing. Like. When they
I did a video a long time ago before my channel really took off, where it was me doing light bowgun with 2 very maxed out bomb cats, and they were just bombing the living hell out of Rathian. Like they were just going ham on her. Like she couldn't even fly up in the air. They were bombing her off the air and everything. It was so funny.
My Prowler in GU right now is actually a bomber because they have the crazy evades where they dodge and they drop a bomb and it's got invincibility frames like that. I was like, dude, are you kidding me? I got invincibility frames with bombs? Yes. The one thing that bothers me is that Giga Barrel Bomb Bay require them to be mad. So it's like if they're not mad, you can't use that beastly skill. And I'm just like, dude, I just want a really big barrel that blows up. I don't need to be mad for that. As a matter of fact, I can be happy. Look at how happy I'm gonna big bomb. But needless to say, I think we're both pretty excited about the buddy system and just
I'm just hoping more people engage it because it's always been a very fun and rewarding system. And I think the reason why people didn't engage it was because those types of people predominantly play online with other people. And then obviously you can't bring a companion in the past games with you if you're online with other people, but now you can. So hopefully that will promote a heightened interest, I think, in this system.
Listen, let me tell you why people didn't engage with it, okay? because it's too goddamn complicated. I had to watch your video like 20 times before I had an inkling of what the hell is going on with that system. I'm not joking. Like, I remember when I was min-maxing my Palicos, I'd be like, okay, wait, I got to hear this part again. Go back. Okay, now I'm going to put this skill in. Okay, scout like this, scout like that. Wait, let me hear this again. And again, like I remember, I heard that video about 20 times before I actually made my Palicos. It was friggin' crazy.
Oh, wow.
So that thing is complicated. That's why most people don't engage with it. It's hard.
I love it. Oh, and so this is where I think I get an advantage here, is because in Japan, they release strategy guides generally on day one. And of course, the wiki community on both global and Japan are awesome, and everybody will collect information. But having a printed material with more information is really advantageous for for trying to grasp the system and understand. Okay, are we dealing with tables? Like, is every cat that I scout, can it learn every skill, or do I need to look at tables? And stuff like that. I can't wait. It's gonna be great. I'm so excited, guys. Every time they show these armor showcases, and it's the Palico armor. I'm sorry, they're just amazing.
The Palico armors are really, really good, and even the Palamute armors are also looking friggin' awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we got
not to diss the dogs. The dogs are awesome, but I am a huge Palico lover. So forgive me if I geek out on the cats.
We got to see the Almudron Palamute thing not that long ago, and that thing looked pretty friggin' wild. But
I also love the courier cat is back. So the courier cat right in the middle of town.
He manages our online. I thought it was cool. He was like, "Oh, it's this system. It's something about spider webs," and I'm like, "Really, dude? The World Wide Web? Something about spider webs? Yeah, sure." That's how it works. I don't know that much. I turn it on. Makes new hunters show up. It's like, okay.
I love the idea that it's separate from the quest girl, because like I didn't like having too many options at the quest board before, so having different NPCs doing it, I like.
Yeah.
But did you see there's a thing in here saying recommended player list? So there's like it'll recommend players that are probably good for you to play with. I thought that was interesting. I don't know how that's going to work.
Yeah, it'll probably, I would assume it would search players that are close to your hunter rank, which is usually like a bit of a concern.
Or maybe people you play with a lot or something, or
yeah, something like that. But yeah, it did have that option there, and that was interesting. Other stuff that showed up in the Buddy Island as well was the Rondine, which there was an interesting thing in Eric's interview that apparently there's going to be parts that Rondine sells that you can't get anywhere else. But they didn't specify.
Yeah, but they've always had that, right? Like artisan set and stuff like that. They've always had that.
Artisan set?
That's how.
What are you talking about?
Well, like, or not artisan. I'm probably getting the wrong name, but there's always been like sometimes the Argosy can bring back. It's like the cat mini game where you send them off to do quests. Like sometimes they can bring back a rare material, and there's some armor that's exclusive to that mini game, so to say. That's the way I took it. Maybe I was just taking it the wrong way, but to me it felt like, no, we're not doing what we did in 4 Ultimate, which was awesome. That like you can literally trade for monster parts for monsters not in the game and make armor. It sounded like there was like, no, but there's something with the system related to, there's gonna be some unique armor, so it's worthwhile to do. But that was my interpretation of the comment. I could be wrong.
We'll see how that stuff pans out. But I just thought it was interesting because, I didn't do... We had the Argosy or Argosy. Actually, it's the same thing. The ship is also
Argosy?
called... I don't know how to pronounce that thing. People always say that I pronounce it wrong.
Is it Argosy? Or I have no idea
But
myself.
the thing is, I read the way that they're pronouncing it, and I'm like, isn't that what I said? It's the same thing. I don't get it. I'm Portuguese. Leave me alone. But in this game, it's also called the Argosy as well. So it's got the same name in terms of the ship. But the system I just felt was different. I was not a huge fan of Argosy in World, basically, is what I'm getting at. I preferred the older systems.
Well, at that point, it was just like, oh, after a few quests, you get a random things you can buy, and that was it.
Yeah, exactly.
You didn't really engage with the character so much.
Yeah. It was just, oh, here's this dude. He brings stuff every now and then. Boom, done.
Exactly.
Not to mention, he was not as interesting as some of the other characters that we've had that do this type of stuff in the game, right? He's just a dude that goes out to sea, comes back.
He's just the shirtless dude.
Yeah, he's just a dude without a shirt. Why doesn't he own a shirt? But like, for instance, you look at Try, and you had the captain with the katana and stuff. Like, that was interesting. You look at Rise, you have Rondine. That is interesting. You look at For You, and you had a Wyverian, right? It was a small Wyverian dude sitting on top of a pillow or something. I seem to remember something about that. He was the one that traded stuff for you, and the dude in world just didn't do it for me. But yeah. So
Rondine, though, she's total waifu. She's great. I don't know what she sounds like in English, but I love her Japanese voice. She speaks like really brash, like a captain. She's like, I like it.
She just has I remember we had that conversation the other time, and she just sounded British to me, but there was very little sampling that we had from her voice. But would be cool if she had a pirate accent. Yar! Yar, matey! I can bring the booty. Wait, maybe I shouldn't say
what? You can bring the booty?
Hey,
what? Wow.
But anyway,
no comment.
One of the other things that we saw, and this is something that I'm assuming because that's what it looked like to me from the video, but you can go to the quest board from anywhere. Like, it doesn't matter where you are, because they had like a hunter on top of a rooftop, and then suddenly you just pulled up the quest board.
Oh, interesting. I didn't even notice that. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, like, it doesn't seem like you actually have to go. If you're in a multiplayer session, you're just doing random stuff. It doesn't even seem like you have to go to the quest board. You can just like open it anywhere. Another convenience thing.
That'll solve some stress.
Yeah, and while we're on the topic of quest board, what monster do you think can possibly be in a quest called So Muddy Hard-Headed?
It's Baroth. It's in the Japanese screenshot. They use his name in the quest name, so it's.
Oh, they just straight up use his name.
Yeah, they just straight up use his name, so it's confirmed.
I thought it was interesting that, like, in the English version, they specifically skip over that, because you can see that they're going down the quest list, and then they get to that one, skip over it, continue. And I was like, come on, I know exactly what's in there.
And the Japanese one, it's just a screenshot that they had from one of the media here. And it uses his name, so I'm like, oh, there you go. He's back, Muddy Boy. We got the Muddy Trio. We've got Juratotus, we've got Baroth, and we've got Almadron or whatever his name is.
Yeah, so basically we can expect to have a triple quest with all three of them for sure.
Oh yeah, Muddy Madness.
Muddy Madness. There you go. Localization team Gaijin just solved the problem. The name of that quest and everything.
Oh no, they always have really good quest names.
They do.
I love what they do.
The friggin' puns are always so good. And this is actually an interesting thing, because you're bringing Yuna to like a Monster Hunter game for the first time. I'm actually going to be bringing like an old friend of mine. He's going to start playing Monster Hunter Rise as well when it comes out. This was my raid leader back in my World of Warcraft days, back in my day, all the way back from the Burning Crusade. He's gonna be playing Monster Hunter Rise, so that is gonna be really cool.
So the funny thing, I can't even say that it's gonna be her first Monster Hunter anymore. It's not,
yeah, because I mean, you guys finished World Iceborne. Yeah, this is her second game now.
Yep. So she's I just send her off running. She's fine.
Yeah, she's gonna.
Not like she would. Not that she would ever take advice from me. She doesn't want me to help her out.
I'm just happy that she finally saw the light and she dropped that crappy weapon that is the bow. And it is what it is. Like, you remember,
you're just fishing for dislikes right now. You're just like, come on, guys. If you use the bow.
I mean, you remember when we talked about Hinoa and Minoto in the Rampage, and I was like, I can't be friends with a bow user. Sorry, Hinoa. I'm Team Minoto all the way now. So I'm super happy Yuna dropped the bow. This is great news for me. My day has been significantly improved from hearing that.
Yes, and she also does not want me to use the insect glaive in Rise. She says that I need to She says, you use it all the time. You're really good at it. You need to get better at other weapons. I'm probably going to main it. So no, she's like, don't touch Insight Glaive and Rise. I'm like,
oh.
She told me to go play Switch Axe.
Oh, snap. No, listen, Gaijin.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about this weapon. It's
she ain't wrong.
It's familiar with this other weapon that you've used before. It's got pokes. But imagine not just pokes, but explosions. Huh?
Oh.
No, you're not gonna play the gunland still? God damn it.
I mean, I'll play everything, but I just, you know me. It's just one of those things.
You gotta play the gunlands, dude. It is so because then I'll main the sword and shield. That's my plan.
So what we should do a deal. I have to play story through the story using gunlands, and you have to do it with Insight Glaive or bow.
No.
Silence.
I'm not doing that.
No.
The thing is, I don't find and it's like I don't want people to take this the wrong way. I'm not criticizing the way that anybody plays. I don't find as much satisfaction in playing Insect Glaive because I find the fights a lot easier than with other weapons. I'm not saying this as a diss or anything like that. If you love Insect Glaive, play Insect Glaive. I'm saying that for myself, I tend to find fights significantly easier when I use the Insect Glaive, and I don't find them as entertaining because of that. Because I just feel like a lot of the times, monster comes at me, I'm like, pogo hop into the air. What you gonna do? Nothing. And in this one, it's like pogo hop and then pogo hop far away if I have to. It's like you can dodge so many things by just like jumping into the air, and that
I love it.
I mean, there's a reason why some of the most challenging fights, I just straight up said, okay, this is too hard. I'm picking up the Insect Glaive. And I'm, like Arch-Tempered Nergigante, I was like, this is annoying me. Insect Glaive. Boom. Like Arch-Tempered Xenojiva, this is annoying me. Insect Glaive. Boom. And it's
Boom.
like, it would solve a lot of problems for me. But ultimately, I just find that it is a really, really powerful weapon. Maybe a little bit... It's not powerful in terms of just the sheer raw damage that it deals, but it's very powerful in terms of the safety that it provides.
It's a comfy weapon.
Yeah,
it's very comfy.
Yeah. So that's why I end up not using it as much. But hats out to all the
crutch.
IG.
I love it.
Don't call it a crutch. People will take offense to that.
No. What I mean by crutch is that once you get used to it, it's a drug. It's hard to lean off of it. Once you get used to it. That's what I mean, guys. I don't mean crutch like it makes it easy or something like. Yeah, that's a bad term. So I would say it's addicting. Yeah. It's addicting.
But yeah, so we had Baroth confirmed, quest from anywhere. I'm just going over my notes here. New training zone. We got to see the new training zone in action. What'd you think about that?
Oh my! So I'm curious. When you first saw the training zone, what's the one thing? Because there's a lot of cool things in there. What's the one thing that hit you the most? Like, made you go interested?
The first thing, I mean, I wouldn't say that hit me the most. I think the thing that hit me the most is probably the fact that you can change. I think we already knew this, but you can change like the way in which the Mecha Tetranodon moves. You can have stuff actually happen so that you can practice things like guard points and counters and So that was maybe one of the things that I really enjoyed. But one of the things that firstly jumped to my eyes was like, the damage numbers are shared. So like you see the damage numbers, like for instance, you notice when he goes in, the damage numbers are going up and he's not attacking the monster. So the damage numbers are the damage numbers for the team, not the individual players. I thought that was interesting.
Interesting. I didn't even take notice of that.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, for me, it was the aimable cannonballs. Did you see that thing?
Aimable can't. I don't think that was in the English. I don't think that was in the English video. What do you mean, aimable cannonballs?
Maybe you know what? Maybe I do need to do a damn video because there seems to be lots of small tidbits in the Japanese ones that were not in the English and vice versa.
Maybe I missed it. Like
they had the hunter go up and use the ballistae and the cannonball. Cannon. What's
the cannons?
What's the name of it?
The cannons? They're cannons.
I can't speak English today. The cannons. I want to say Taihole, but it's the cannons. Okay. The cannons are aimable now. You can like literally aim it and just decide where you want to shoot a cannonball.
So you
It's
can aim.
amazing.
You can aim a cannonball the same way that you aim a ballista.
Yeah. And it has the little like circle on the ground, so it shows you where it's going to land.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't
Oh my God. When I
remember
saw that,
seeing
I was like, oh, I was like, I'm making full artillery build, man. My Rampage build is going to be hilarious.
That makes cannon so much more usable. Like, Jesus, you remember, oh, am I just on the right angle? You remember going to the Fatalis hunt being like, okay, this cannon goes three times to the right.
3 ticks.
The other cannon, 2 ticks to the left. It's like, what?
Now you can just aim it and boom, 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 boom.
That is
Oh, man. When I saw that, I'm like.
Did you see it fire 5 times as well?
The what?
Did you see it fire 5 times as well?
Actually, I didn't look at how many times.
Because you just said boom, 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 and I was like, wait, you can fire it multiple times? Interesting.
Yeah, that stuck out there. I didn't realize that some of the footage might be different between
it. Apparently, a lot of the footage is different according to the stuff that we're looking at. You're talking about
even the Japanese media sites, some of their footage was different. I thought they were all given the same stuff, but they weren't. Or they're cutting in different areas. I don't know.
I wonder if they just said you can't use the whole thing, and some people just cut different things. Yeah.
Weird.
But yeah.
It's so funny. The Japanese videos focus so much on the companions. Like over half the video is companion stuff.
It's like on the English video is like, I don't know. There's a little bit about the Buddy Island, but then they just kind of like move on to talk about other stuff. I didn't feel like there was that much. You get to see, I think that for someone that doesn't even know how the companion system of GU works, like you see the symbols there and you don't even know what the hell is going on. And I was just like going, look, this is a fighter palico, this is a bombing palico, this is a trapper palico, And then
So this is interesting. So I'm looking at the video now where they have the ballista. There's always been like the maximum of 10, right?
Yes.
This might be because it's a training room, but it's got 999, and it's just it's a thing on the bottom right that shows. So it seems that you can have much more than 10 at this point.
No, I think that might be because the training room, because even in World, like consumables don't actually get consumed in the training room so that you can play around.
Oh, here's something they added that you may not know. You can guard now while you're at the ballista or the cannon. You can guard. So if the monster tries to hit you when you're trying to fire, you can stop and guard while you're on it.
So they have a built-in shield?
Yeah. And you hold R to do it.
I think
So if you hold R, you'll guard.
You see that in some Rampage video, but I didn't pay too much attention. In the Rampage trailer, I think you can kind of see hints of that.
It says that, so what it does is it uses the wire bug to do it. So if you have a wire bug, you press R, the wire bug will become like a guard for you.
Huh. So it uses.
I love that because like how many times
bug.
have we all been at the cannon trying to shoot and then we get knocked out of it? Now we can use our wire bugs to strategically guard through it. That's awesome.
So that uses the wire bug though when you pop that.
Yeah.
Puts it on cooldown. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So and it doesn't recharge. So I mean, that means you can get up to 2 guards in one shooting session, so to say.
3
if you
pick the thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the cannon now, and so he's aiming it. He can guard, and it's the same thing. It's like Cannonball 999. So it seems like you can load more than one, but it shoots at one at a time.
Okay.
But it looks so good the way that it can. So they have them in there because you can use those during the Rampage, and they want you to be able to practice.
Interesting. I mean, that's a lot of new things that I didn't even know. Like I was like, I analyzed this video. I know what I'm talking about, and you're just like, oh yeah, there's all these other things in Japanese video, and I'm like, information spread all over the place. We got to be combing through it all to bring it all to you here in the Third Fleet podcast. Damn. So, couple of more things. So we saw the training zone. Let's talk about forging. Forging and upgrading in the same option. Thank God. That was actually, for a player that doesn't have that many weapons, maybe it was never a big deal for you guys. But for a collector like me, let me tell you, every single time that I needed to look for a weapon that I wanted to upgrade, it was a nightmare. It's like, Where did I put this weapon? Let me sort them by weapon type and then go through rarity type and then find the thing that I want to upgrade. Like, there were times I think I crafted the same weapon 4 times just because, like, I can't friggin' find it. I'm going to craft it again. I don't care. I quit.
It's funny you say that because I have 3 headpieces for Fatalis in Iceborne because I didn't realize I crafted it.
Yeah, there you go. So it's a good thing.
But the thing I hated was you couldn't see the upgrade materials or if you were in the forge list, you couldn't see information. That was annoying.
That was very annoying. Like I remember also, usually I would have a weapon there, a weapon of each, just so that I could like, okay, I want to see what the upgrades are. Go to this weapon, boom, upgrade, and now I can see the materials. So it's very good that they've put all of that in the same menu. Thank God. More quality of life like that, please. That is very useful. So yeah, that stuff is in the same menu. You still have the weapon tree, which is good because that was one of the features that I really appreciated from World. Because like before that, you're always stuck going to Kiraniku or other third-party websites to look at the weapons to figure out, okay, which path do I want to take? So this way, at least you can see it in the game so that you know exactly, okay, for the weapon that I want, got to go through here, through there, and then boom.
So the thing I like about this one, though, is it was a little annoying in Iceborne was that your cursor was like a free-moving mouse.
Yes.
So like there was times where you're trying to hover onto an icon. Now it seems like it just snaps and you can use the D-pad if you want, which is really nice. That's a good quality of life change right there.
I'm not sure if you noticed it, but it's just straight up a grid. Even the empty spaces, you can go through the empty spaces because it's just a regular grid. So yeah, that is also a very welcome change. Instead of the free-flowing thing. I think it makes more sense for it as well. And then,
but
the thing we discussed on Twitter, no bloat.
Yeah.
No bloat!
No bloat. They're going back to raw, baby. Woo!
Damn. Now, for those of you that don't understand,
I'm so happy about that.
Those of you that don't understand, there's certain values in Monster Hunter World and other Monster Hunter games where they would bloat the actual damage of the weapon by a certain scale because, I don't know, they think it makes more sense. So that's like, this greatsword deals 1,000 damage, whereas the comparable weapon it only deals like 600, but the greatsword deals more because it's a greatsword. That doesn't make any goddamn sense.
I think they were trying to explain like the average power you can expect from one attack, which makes no sense again.
Yeah.
It's like you said, like I'm using a 200 power sword and shield. It's like identical length of power output as a 986 attack greatsword. It's like,
it's super
so
weird.
Knowing it, because normally you would have to then, because of the bloat system being so stupid, you'd have to go by rarity. So if you're using like a rarity 5 gun lance and you're like, okay, I want to try another weapon, and you don't want to use something that's weaker, you go for another rarity 5 of another weapon, right?
Yeah.
But it's not always 1 for 1 like that.
Yeah.
So at least now with raw values, if I'm using a 120 weapon, I know that any other weapon at 120 is basically the same output if I'm playing them right.
Yeah. So the idea here is, guys, that the way the Monster Hunter works, it's like there's this system which is the motion values. And I'm not going to get too in depth with that, but let's just say that each attack has a certain value associated with it, which gets multiplied to the raw damage that the weapon makes, and that is how.
Actually, can I explain it? There's a lot of people who don't seem to get it, and I actually think it's actually quite simple. So the number that you see on your page for your weapon's attack, consider that if your hunter put 100% effort, that's the damage they do. That's the amount. That's the power of the weapon. So if it's 100 attack power in your weapon, using 100% of all their strength and energy, that attack will do 100 attack power. So if they're just doing a little swap to the side and they're not using that much effort, they're doing maybe 20% of that. If it's a greatsword where they're charging up and they're really exerting themselves, maybe they do 100% or 120% of their attack power because it takes longer. They're exerting more effort. So the motions, the quicker they are or the less effort it takes your hunter to do them, they're not going to do their maximum damage output, of course. And that's what we call motion value. It's just the percentage of the attack power that's done. So 100 attack weapon, a side slap with a greatsword is only maybe 20%. where a charge might be 100, 120, 140.
Yeah.
So hopefully that makes sense.
Another example is look
Ocean
at dual blades versus the charge blades super amped elemental discharge. There you go.
Yeah.
Super amped elemental discharge, big motion value. Dual blades blade dance, small value, but lots of hits.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good that we don't have it's good that we don't have the bloated values, because basically now we can more easily compare which weapons land where when it comes to the equivalent power level of each weapon. Whereas before you'd have to divide it by an arbitrary number, which I don't even remember what the multipliers were, but I think like greatsword 1.7
it's painful, like 4 point something.
And then the other weapons would be 1.2, and it was very, very annoying if you wanted to swap weapons to try and, okay, is this the equivalent for the other one? So getting rid of bloated values, big ups.
I'm finding it really interesting. They seem to be really scaling down everything, which I think is very encouraging to see. Because if you notice, all the demo gameplay that they've had against like Bishaten or Kezu or Somnicanth, like the not like the actual like the gameplay where they're showing the damage numbers, they're all really small numbers. So we're talking like 10, 14, 11, 12, much lower than we saw in the demo, and much lower than we normally see in games. So I like the idea that we're dealing with we're starting out lower, because I think it means that there's going to be less massive difference at the very entry of the game, because the numbers are going to be like a difference of 1 or 2 because of the rounding. And it just means that they have more room to play with as we advance into high rank, and then hopefully maybe eventually master rank in some expansion, I hope.
So long as they don't just go ham and be like, hey, here's this new Fatalis armor.
500.
You go from like...
So there's something about...
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. There's something about the weapon tree that excited me to no end, which was they're making elemental great again. I don't know if you noticed this. This might be another thing where it was only on the Japanese one. I don't know. But in the weapon tree, they showed the Kezu hammer.
No, they showed that in the English one as well, yeah.
So the Kezu hammer generally only has like 15 thunder, 16, 13, something like that. And then when at its final upgrade in G rank, in Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate, it's like 35 or something thunder. This thing is a rarity 2. First upgrade. It's not even upgrade. It's the craftable Kezu hammer. It's something like 48 or something thunder.
I think it was 40.
It
was like
it's like they flat out like tripled what it normally is. Like that's an insane number to have for an elemental at the beginning of the game. That is really high.
Which is good, because elemental needs a boost. Like more people need to know what elemental is like, as opposed to just being like, no, just give me blast and raw and blast. Like I love blast as much as the next guy, but like World's meta was blast raw, blast raw, blast raw. And it's like, thank you for hopefully bringing more elemental to the table, because it was always one of the things that I would love to do is I want to go ahead and craft the different elemental weapons to fight the different elemental monsters. That was always the joy of mix matching things, to be like, I'm fighting this monster that's weak to lightning now. Let me bring out this lightning weapon. Like that's satisfying, and I feel like that should always be the optimal way to play, as opposed to, sure, there'd be monsters where raw is better. That's fine. But raw shouldn't just be better 99% of the times is where I'm.
Yeah. And it's interesting because we've thought and we've discussed a lot of people in the community about how to fix that. And everyone always came to the conclusion, all you have to do is buff the elemental numbers. Just make them more stronger and it'd be fine. It seems like that's what they're doing. That was really good to see.
Very, very nice.
Also in the weapon tree, I tweeted about this as well, but I think it might. Okay, yeah. So I'm making sure I'm not jumping subject here, but we're still talking about weapon tree. Can we jump into armor?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so like the armor system this is interesting because everyone's got question marks above their head at this point, because They said in interviews that the armor system would be similar to World and Iceborne, but it would also have some elements of older games, so it wouldn't be exactly one for one. But everything they've shown so far is like one for one.
Yeah, pretty much.
And people are like, "This is the same system as World. What are you talking about, man?" So it's interesting because it's like the same system. They've changed the UI, and I think it's much more clean. And I really like the way that they've done it. Obviously, they got rid of set bonuses completely. You don't have that anymore. You get a resistance bonus. They said in a Japanese site that if you have 3 pieces of the same armor set, you get like +1 to every elemental defense.
Actually,
if you have 4 pieces, it's like +3 and then +5.
Let me correct you. According to the Eric's interview, set bonuses still exist.
According to Japanese interviews, they said no. Unless we're talking about set, like I just said, there's a set bonus.
Yeah, I know.
Where it's generic.
Eric's specifically,
but they said in a Japanese interview, flat out, stuff like like Slugger's Secret, stuff like actual skills that activate. They said those are gone.
Dude, that is so weird because I'm pretty sure that the way Eric's worded it in his interview was actually like, oh, by the way, I noticed that these armors now have these additional bonuses. Do we still have the other set bonuses? And they said, yes.
They flat out said no in the Japanese interview.
They're trolling.
So I don't know. Maybe that was lost in translation. I don't know. But they've been pretty clear that because that's one of the things I wanted to mention that I'm kind of happy about because I can see, I like the idea, right? I thought the idea was really cool. Like have a full Diablo set, you get the Slugger skill or whatever, right? But the problem is one, it helped contribute to skill bloat where we'd have like 30 skills active at one time, which I was not a fan of. And 2, it made a weird balancing issue where you wanted to give a certain set skill something that was substantial and worth going for, but when you do that, it means that now what are you going to do when it's a lower rank monster, right? So now no one's going to use that set in the late game, and you can't if you give it to a deco, you now made that set completely pointless. So by getting rid of it completely, it kind of just solves the issue.
To be honest, I think I actually prefer it that way as well. Like I'm hoping that they did get rid of it. I mean, according to Eric's interview, they didn't. Now I'm confused. But I think I would prefer if they did get rid of it. And at the same time, they kind of like reinforce you using, you get benefits for using full sets if you want to. Because there's there's actually a lot of people that like using full sets. Like the whole thing of making mixed sets, even though that is something that I personally tend to do a lot. And a lot of people in the community do a lot. If you really get right down to it, there's a lot of people that actually don't do that. They're like, I like this set. I'm using this set. The guy that got me into Monster Hunter, he pretty much just makes full sets. Like he doesn't really do the whole mixed set thing all that much. So it's good that they're giving something of an incentive for you to use a full set by increasing your resistances and whatnot, making you a tankier hunter. And you can then also be, it's a risk reward thing. You can be riskier and use a mixed set and not get these bonuses. But
it got me thinking though, like, so why are they so focused on giving the hunter elemental resistance? Why is that such a big deal? And then I was thinking, well, if they're buffing the elemental power of the hunters, maybe they're buffing the elemental power of the monsters as well. In which case, it would make a lot of sense that would become, because up until now, you could have kind of, except for maybe Fatalis and Elatreon, you could have just ignored elemental weaknesses and just eat it out, or you can, as long as your defense was high enough, it didn't really matter. A fireball does fire damage, but if your defense is high enough, you can take it to the face and be fine. Maybe they're tweaking it, so maybe now elemental defense is really important because that would make total sense, right?
I guess in World I would agree with you. In GU I'm not so sure. There's certain monsters that if you go in there without resistances, like I still end up going there without resistances, but yeah, they freaking destroy you. They just like wreck you. They shred and you're gone. So yeah, I don't know, but yeah, I could see them buffing the elemental power of the monsters, but at the same time, maybe also buffing their elemental vulnerabilities.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
they're more dangerous, which in a way would also make sense because it would make for faster hunts. You either cart faster or you kill them faster.
Mm. Oh man, but one of the things that I gotta admit, because I know at this point I have said nothing negative. I've always been like everything they're showing me is just tickling my funny bone and making me all
there's not.
happy and stuff like that. There's one thing that made me go, that's I don't know about that. That's interesting, which was the amount of skills that were active on a low rank set. So they said that this time around, Kezu is going to be positioned as kind of like an early game monster, where in some of the past games it's been kind of like a really strong mid tier monster, like mid to late game, like that middle part. Now it's going to be early to mid. So it's only like rarity 2. It's really early in the game that you're gonna. It's like the yellow color for the rarity. It's not that high, which should make a lot of people very happy because I think a lot of people don't like fighting the monster. I love it. But the amount of skills that they showed in the Japanese screenshots, I don't know if they had this in the US or not, but they showed a screenshot of the full Kizu armor and all the skills that it gives. And there's quite a few skills on this thing for being low rank. Like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
Yeah,
8 active skills.
I don't think they showed that on the English one. I'm not sure.
So the full Kizu set gives you level 1 health recovery up, where it's like the amount that you recover from a potion. I don't know the actual English name for that. But
Recovery speed.
I think
No, the amount is it's medicine.
Medicine, yeah. So it gives you level 1 of that, level 2 of wall climbing, which I like, which is you use less stamina as you run across a wall when you're using your wire bug and you're running across walls, which makes sense because it's Kezu. He walks on walls. It gives you level 2 of recovery speed, level 1 thunder attack, level 1 focus, which is interesting,
Jesus.
and level 1 slugger.
Good God.
I don't know if
so many skills already, and you don't even have any slots in there.
like I know slots, so I don't know if they have a charm on here that's giving like it is possible here. I will say this. It is possible KO and like slugger and focus are so grouped well together that could be a charm. That may not be the set. So maybe that would make more sense to me, right? Like the I can't tell from the screenshot, but if the full set gives you health recovery up level 1, wall climbing 2, recovery speed 2, and thunder 1, that makes total sense to me. And maybe the charm gives focus and KO. I don't know. But those are the skills that they showed. But it says, like skills activated from the full set. It just lists them right there. I'm just like, that's a lot of skills.
That is a lot of skills.
I don't know.
Particularly for an early game monster. I mean, we both talked about this before in previous episodes where we wish they would go back to a system where less skills, but more meaningful skills, as opposed to just like, get everything you want, literally everything you want, all the FR in the world. And it's like, okay, I don't know.
Yeah, so fingers are crossed. I would rather have less amount of skills. We'll see.
Yeah.
What it is, but I thought that was worth noting. I thought it was interesting. But 3 of the skills are passive, so they're not, that's encouraging. I would say a little bit. I don't know.
We'll see. It's like, I do hope that there's at least reasons for using different armor sets. Like, I want a system similar to what we have in GU more than what we have in World, in terms of every single time that I go on GU and I'm thinking to myself, oh, I want to do a different build. I don't like the fact that I have to go to a third-party website to look up the skills and stuff because, there's just so many different combinations. But I do like the fact that I can have so many different builds at any given time because of the fact that it's less skills, but they're more meaningful.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping for something like that, but clearly the indication from the Kezu set is showing us otherwise, but we'll see. Maybe they'll tweak it, or maybe it will make sense in the end. We'll see how it all pans out. And speaking of skills, I guess that's a good transition into gems. Gem tiers are back. So
they are back, yes.
I mean, the way that they used to work in the other games, for those of you that don't know, it's like usually you would have armor pieces that could have up to 3 slots, right? They can be more than 3. if I remember correctly. And you would have uh, level 2 gems would take up 2 of those slots. Level 3 gems would take up the 3 slots. Level 1 gems would take up 1 slot. But basically, you would be able to slot in like 3 level 1 gems on something that had 3 slots. Whereas in World, it's like you have these special slots. This one takes a tier 2 gem. You can put a tier 1 gem. You can't put anything else in there. So, yeah, gem tiers are back, basically.
Yeah, I'm good with this.
Yeah, I don't have an issue.
I mean, we're getting away from the decorations used to be 1 point. It didn't even give you a skill. So like having that micromanagement of having to slot in 10 decorations to get 1 level of skill, that's gone, which I'm happy about. I think that's fine. But yeah, they showed the Hunter's Helm S, the high rank one. They showed it in a screenshot, and it had a level 2 deco slot in it for the headpiece.
And
so
then
okay,
we had official confirmation that decorations are craftable.
Yes.
Now, let me tell you something that someone pointed out in my comment section. Decorations were also craftable in Monster Hunter World. Decorations were also craftable in Monster Hunter World.
No, they weren't.
Yeah.
You're talking about melding?
Yeah, small ones.
That doesn't count. No, that's not crafting, that's melding.
Okay. I don't know. I remember I just saw someone say that and I was like, oh man, you dark person, why would you have to bring that up? No,
what's really funny is every time me and Yuna are playing, and I was like, oh, I got to go see Capcom. We call the Elder Melder Capcom. It's the name we've given her because it's like the game developer is cheating, right? She's like, oh, let me give you a mantle. Okay, let me give you this. Okay, honey, I'm sorry. The RNG really screwed you. Let me give you something else. Like, it's like the game developers, okay, we put a little too much RNG in here. Let's throw you a bone. So that's what the Elder Melder is. She's just pulling out. It's Capcom.
That's funny. But yeah, apparently we'll be able to craft decos, so that probably means that we'll have some RNG when it comes to charms, potentially. That's probably where we're going to be getting it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm sure they're not going to deal away with no RNG. Come on, you got to have some reason for the grind.
I'll take
craftable decos. Come on, like that's all I really wanted at this point. That was the only confirmation I needed to know this game is going to be god tier.
I'll take the charms over the decorations 100%. Yes, very much so. Although I'll tell you what, it is not as, how should I put it? It is not as in agreement. There's a word that I'm missing right now. It is not as much of a, when a group of people all agree on something, it is not as much of that as we would believe. I've actually seen quite a few comments.
Well, there's not a consensus on this, right?
That consensus. That's the word I was looking for.
Hey.
Yeah, there's actually a significant amount of people that I saw in comment sections saying,
there's divided opinions about this. Yeah,
I prefer the being able to craft the charms and getting the decos RNG. But I guess
I mean, like I said, I hate on the system, but I'm quick to admit and say it was designed as a console experience where you sit down, you play long sessions, focus on overseas, playing with lots of people. So, they needed to give you an incentive for playing it over and over again in long sessions. It makes sense why they went for it, right? They wanted, as long as you played for a long time, they assumed, because they were naive and didn't think about RNG, that you would get most of what you wanted and there would be a drip.
Yeah.
I think even Capcom didn't realize that RNG can be a real asshole. So
I think Capcom might have misplaced a comma somewhere. And some of these some of these decos
Excel file.
Yeah, dude. There was like a table somewhere that was not working as intended. But
they're probably like, well, the gacha games in Japan have 0.00001% to get this, so it should be okay. No, it's not.
No,
okay.
It's not. But while we're on the topic,
I'm so happy.
While we're on the topic of RNG, I figured I would bring up another Eric's topic, which was he specifically asked, "Is there going to be a Safi-like weapon system in Rise?" And they said no.
Yeah, no, well, that makes sense.
No relic weapons, no randomness, stuff like that. And I was like, yes.
I think they're doing a step back. I'm assuming here that there was a weird power imbalance with a lot of the systems they had for the end game, And going back to a more simple days and times is a good idea.
Yeah.
At least to start with, right? Before they can, for a base game, you don't want to be jumping in and trying crazy stuff like that.
Not even just to start.
We all
with.
saw
I
what
don't
happened
want,
with the guild weapons.
Yeah, I don't want the ultimate weapon, Rise Ultimate to basically feature Koltharoth system, Safi-like system.
Yeah.
I want to be able to, craft different weapons for different things. I'll take that. I'll take that 100%.
That being said, you know what I do want them to bring back? I really love the idea of having a weapon with an inherent skill inside of it. I thought that was a really cool idea.
Not the
I don't want it to be where only one monster got it, which meant that every single elemental weapon was crap compared to it. That was too much. But the idea was good.
Not the augmentation system, though. I'm not a big fan of augmenting.
No, not that.
Augmenting the weapons, I'm not that much about. But, having that skill there, like we had hasten regen for Nergi, a couple of other things, I think that is interesting. Having a skill in a weapon, or maybe even have the weapon count towards the set bonus.
There are no set bonuses.
No,
that's about the resistance.
The resistance.
I mean, it's not armor, so I don't know how it feels a little weird if it did.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't thought that through. It's 1:30 a.m. Okay, I didn't really think that was part. But I do like the idea of the skills on the weapons. That did bring interesting stuff to the table. But I don't want it to be. What is the word that I'm looking for?
None of them should be exclusive. That's my one thing. No skill should be exclusive because it all takes is one little misbalance, and all of a sudden that becomes what everyone uses. So stay clear from that, Capcom.
Yeah. So like for instance, the Teostra's technique. Imagine if there's a weapon with Teo's technique. You're like, well, that's the weapon we all got to use.
That's all I'm using.
It's time to use Teostra. He's even got blast and everything and decent raw, just like in World.
Oh my gosh, no. No.
Yeah. But then another thing was that Rampage mode is going to drop exclusive materials.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think we're going to be doing with that? Some kind of end game, because this to me almost says guiding lands and then augmentation. Because that was basically...
That's the vibe I get, yeah.
It's the same...
The vibe I get is that's going to give us something that allows us to customize our endgame weapons, probably. I would definitely prefer that over, like, Safi'jiiva weapons.
I would like... For this
like weapon honing. You remember how that worked with, like, the Apex monsters and...
No.
For Ultimate, right?
No. I told
Weapon honing was basically a very early mechanic that became augmentations, but augmentations was never that complex. It was, you had like 4 choices. You got a rare drop from the Apex hunts, and that rare drop could be used to hone your weapon for either attack, so you had increased attack power, hone it for defense, so you get a defense boost, or for health, so when you hit, you would heal about a little bit, and that was it. That was the only choices, and you got that from a rare drop from Apex hunts. So if they went back to a little bit more simple days like that, I'd be cool. Because then at that point, what was really fun was that you would make it was so well balanced that you would make like 2 or 3 versions of the same weapon. Just so you can have a heal version, an attack boost version, and the comfy set defense boost version. Because all 3 were really good. So you'd want to almost hone different versions of it. It was really nice. It gave you a good reason to do lots of Apex hunts.
I think my thing about the augmentation system is that I guess I don't want to see a system where it's like I can do 50 different upgrades into this weapon like you had, for instance.
That's what I don't like, yeah.
Koltharoth weapons where it's like, oh yeah, let me take the custom thing, upgrade it 1,000,000 times over, and then take the other thing, upgrade that a bunch of times.
Yeah, no weapon should be able to escape its demerits. They should, like a weapon that has bad affinity but high raw should always, unless you really spec for it, should carry that baggage, right? That's what keeps the balance.
Escape its
once you allow you,
like, dude, those weapons were sentient by the time I was done with them.
Yeah. So I hope it's a more simple system. I hope it's not like World was a little too much.
Yeah.
You can over augment stuff. I just hope that whatever they do
And I think
there's a lot of viable endgame weapons. That's all I want.
I think it doesn't make sense for them to follow the complexity of augmentation system and world based around the stuff that they said. Like they said, we're making weapons easier to upgrade.
Yeah.
And then it'd be like, but we're going to put this super complex augmentation system at the end of it. It's like, no, that still prevents people from trying new weapons. That doesn't make sense. So yeah, I don't think it would make sense when you put it in that context. So, but yeah, I'm very curious to see what Rampage mode drops are going to be. So we'll have to see what that is all about. And then we have.
It seems like it seems like they're considering it almost like it's a new gameplay mode. Like they're really thinking about it differently. So, they keep talking in the interviews. There's 2 different ways to play the game that you can enjoy. So hopefully you'll like the normal quest and you'll also like the Rampage quest. They're very different. So.
And even I think there was like a menu in the Gathering Hub or something in one of the videos where they show high rank, low rank Rampage or something like that.
Yeah.
Or low rank, high rank.
It's like
Rampage.
its own category.
It's its own category thing, yeah. So that is cool. I'm very curious to see what that is going to be like. But then we just have some confirmation of stuff that I feel like we already knew, which is no G rank, no master rank. I mean, I guess that was most people were expecting that. It was just, I think Eric's just wanted to make sure that he confirmed that.
Yeah.
And he also
he asked a lot of really good questions.
Yeah. He asked what the length of the single-player portion of the game was, which this is just the village quests, because for those of you that don't know, we've talked about this in the past, but in case this is your first time here, in World, you could do almost every quest in co-op, with the exception of like a few starting quests. In older Monster Hunter games, you have the village quests, which are single-player only, and then you have the hub quests, which are tuned for multiplayer. And so Eric's asked, what was the duration of the village quest, which is basically like the story bit of Monster Hunter. It's 20 to 30 hours, and then the rest of it is just you.
Same as always, yeah.
The rest is just you grinding in the hub, which that is where most of our time is going to be spent. That's where most of our time is always spent in Monster Hunter, is in the friggin' hub.
In some of the more recent interviews in Japan as well with this new media burst, they talked about a lot about how they've made Village easier. They've been really emphasizing it this time. I think they realize making the game more approachable to new players is going to be really key in expanding it. So I think that's one of their major talking points, is that the Village is not that hard. So like it's if you're new, it's a great place to start. It's fun. It's not going to make you throw your controller or anything like that. There's tons of challenge in the game, but the Village is not one of those. So I don't know. The Village has never been a very hard thing, so that's good, especially for people who aren't used. Because one of the things I see online is people who maybe started with World and they said, "Look, I don't like hunting alone, or I play much better with others." So the fact that the single player is tuned to be much easier than normal, that's a good thing. It means that they won't feel like this is a huge hurdle for them to go over. It's going to be very tough for them to clear it. It should be relatively fun and easy, I think.
I don't know. I have mixed. Whenever it comes to difficulty, the Dark Souls player in me just always goes like, I don't know. I didn't think it was that hard before. I don't know, because there's also.
But they say this a lot, so it could just be them.
I'm hoping there's not that much difference, because there's also something as trying to cater to a new audience too much to the point where you alienate part of your existing audience. Like, I know that most of my enjoyment is going to be in the hub, but at the same time, I don't want to feel like I'm just pasting every monster in like 2 seconds when I'm doing Village, right? I still want to feel some.
But it's always been like that, though, hasn't it? Go back to the older games. The Village has always been really easy.
I don't feel like the Village in GU was that easy. I felt like it was really easy in 4U. I felt like 4U was real easy. But GU,
I think the Village gets hard is high rank. High rank Village is not that easy. Where low rank is piss easy. Is at least that's usually how I remember.
But we're still getting high rank in this Village, right?
I would doubt high rank never. Traditionally, the older games, high rank does not come in the Village. It's low rank only.
Yeah, no. What I say is like the stars numbered. It's too late.
Yeah,
it's too late for me.
Yeah, I don't Traditionally, you wouldn't get high rank materials, high rank monsters in the village unless it's like the very
Unless it's the
final
advanced quest,
optional quest that you did, and it's an advanced quest. It's going to be weird. We've been playing Iceborne and stuff for so long that going back to a base game is going to be a little jarring at first.
It
I think.
is. It is definitely going to be very weird. I mean, I've been playing GU alongside World significantly, so it's like I'm probably going to be able to tell. Like if I get in there and I fight a Rathian, and I just beat the Rathian, no challenge, no nothing, I'm going to be like, I don't know about this.
I'm telling you, man, take your time, because even without Defender, you could get through Monster Hunter World in 20 hours, 25 hours. It's not that hard. At that point, all you have left is the DLC and the fun grind. It's like if you press and you get far ahead fast, you're gonna run out of stuff to do, I think.
You want to know how long it took me to finish World on my first run? It was like 200 hours.
Wow.
No, but it's not like, this is not because it was hard or challenging.
Were you sidetracked?
Oh, no, it wasn't because I was unintentionally sidetracked. It was more like, I want to go do this. I'm going to go do this.
Yeah.
It was literally
That's the right way to do it.
It was literally how I played the game. Like a lot of people commented on my video like, took me 50 hours. Like, what the fuck? And I was like, I don't care.
Yeah, the person who goes through it slower is the winner here, because it's fine wine. Don't chug it.
I loved because I would always be like, I want to go make this armor now, so I'm gonna go farm this thing. I'd be making sets and friggin' low rank and stuff. I don't care. It's like,
I honestly think I'm probably, if Yuna's up for it, because I don't know how she'll feel, but I kind of feel like I want to make every single low rank set before I go to high rank.
Damn, that's a big commitment. I'm not making that.
But then again, I also know going to high rank is going to unlock more Palico stuff, and I don't want to wait for that.
Yeah,
I want my cats.
I wouldn't go for all low rank sets, because there's a lot of sets in low rank that aren't usually that useful. They're just there.
Yeah.
So that's
well,
not
okay. I'll just take my time.
Yeah, just take your time. Just do it while it's fun. Like, I like this set, I'll make this one. Right. That's the way to go about it.
Eat that stuff up.
I also think that there's something, as you're like, I'm gonna force myself to craft every low rank set before high rank. I don't think that's healthy.
True. Well, I am going to make every single Palico armor. That I do that every time. So that without question. And
finally, we have one bit of news that I actually meant to bring up at the very beginning of this, and I forgot. I'm sorry.
Oh.
But this was actually the first thing that I talked about in my video, so pretty much anyone that's been to my channel is aware of this, and obviously we have to talk about it. PC version confirmed 2022. Oh,
yeah. How did we not mention that at the top? Wow. That's like the huge topic right here. Wow.
It's just for us, I kind of feel like that's not really a big deal, because we're both getting it on Switch regardless. And the fact that it's coming out on PC, it probably just means that we'll end up playing through the game twice, because that's what happened last time for me. I'm probably going to be playing it when it comes out on PC as well. But a lot of people were going through like my videos going like, well, this aged like milk. And I was just like, oh, all right, then. It's almost like they purposely ignore the part where I'll be like, I'll be happy to be proven wrong, because more people playing Monster Hunter is a good thing. Are you kidding me? The fact that it's coming to PC is a good thing. Like, I'm happy that more people get to experience. It makes me wonder, why not the consoles then? If it's coming to PC, why not other consoles as well?
Yeah, so at that point, I don't know. It's all guesswork at this point, but my guess here is that, and I think people do need to tailor their expectations a bit, and I think this is part of a smart move on their behalf. I wouldn't doubt that they have some exclusivity with Nintendo. There's got to be a window there, right? Mm-hmm. I'm assuming so. Even if there wasn't, though, let's say the PC versions are hard to develop. Like in Japan, companies don't make them as much. They take time. Their day one PC release with consoles never happens. So the fact that this game is designed specifically with the Switch in mind, right? It was designed as a portable game, a portable experience. The quest length, the difficulty, the systems, the UI, the font, everything is tailored so that it plays optimally in a portable setting, but can also be enjoyed on the TV. It means that if you go into the PC version expecting it to be like Iceborne and it'd be gorgeous and 4K and crazy high res textures, maybe they'll do it. Okay, maybe they'll surprise us, but the game design doesn't change, and I don't think people realize there is a difference between designing a gameplay loop around portable and home console. There's a difference. It's going to feel different. So I think the fact that there's like a year between the two versions, right? Because they need time to make it. Maybe they have a window, but it also helps them position it as a port. So it's very obvious at this point that this is a port of a Switch game. So I think people will go in there with the right expectations and the right viewpoint, because if they just take a Switch game designed for portable friendliness and they threw it on the PlayStation 5 and Xbox and the PC, you're going to play it and look at Iceborne and be like, what happened?
Yeah.
Like this is weird. It doesn't feel right.
And I hope that people understand like what they're getting into with the PC port again, because like, you know what's going to happen if people just start going like, oh, they're PS2 graphics. It's like they're going to be like, okay, just remember this for next time. Just remember what you said. Just keep that in mind, because that's.
So one thing I will say, like, a lot of people seem to be like talking about, oh, I wonder if there's going to be crossplay. There's no way in hell there's going to be crossplay.
I hope there is. Like, I highly doubt.
I hope there is. That would be great. But how can they pull it off, though? Because we know that they're using Nintendo servers for this game. It's the new servers that they finally created out of, I think the old ones, they said they were using like Windows 95 still. Like they were old servers. So this is the very first game that's using Nintendo's new online servers. And they're not willing to comment on any of the technology behind it because Capcom's not involved. They literally just check a box and say, yes, we'll use Nintendo servers for this. Nintendo servers, brand new ones, are not going to be playing with PC servers. There's no way.
Imagine if the game comes out on the Microsoft Store. Because you know how Nintendo's been teaming up with Microsoft here and there, like to play, for instance, Minecraft and stuff like that, because they have crossplay.
I'm almost positive they announced it as Steam.
Did they?
I'm gonna check.
I don't know. I just saw Eric's video and he's like PC version 2022.
All the Japanese say PC parentheses Steam.
Okay, then it's gonna be Steam. Well, if it is Steam, then I definitely don't see it being crossplay. Like it'll be very hard.
I don't
to
see
do
it because
crossplay.
So I'm on their official website and they say Steam.
Okay. But again, it makes me wonder why not the other consoles. There's obviously Nintendo exclusivity there. But why not the other consoles? If it's coming to PC, PC players have the highest expectations when it comes to visuals, more so even than console players.
I think to them it's just a bonus because there's no PC market here anyways, right? And again, they're designing it to be great for the Switch. I think and it's also timing, right? Like if they wanted to add in a PlayStation version or Xbox version, they can't release it at the same time. There's going to have to be a development period added in there, right?
Yeah.
Like they're going to have to add half a year to a year to develop it, in which case we're going to run into the same situation we did in the past where they won't even have the opportunity to do an ultimate version because they'll have such a long gap without a release that the actual next PlayStation, Xbox, PC game is going to be on top of it. So unless they started out on the 3DS, right? And then they moved over to Switch. They're designing it as a portable game. It makes no sense for them early on to even consider doing development work for PlayStation and Xbox. It just makes no sense.
I'm also thinking
from a schedule standpoint.
I'm also thinking, do you believe that very much like Iceborne, the ultimate version would also come out late? Assuming
so that's the thing is like so not just thinking about the server issues, right? Where like I don't think that they would be able to connect, and I would love to see cross save. That's like at least one thing I would love to see.
Yeah.
For us to upload our save data so we can play it on Steam, that would be awesome. But like, it's coming out like a year later, right? How are they going to do? Like, they're not going to have any of the event quests yet? They would have. The whole player base is going to be completely different. Like, we're going to be already done with the Switch version. We're going to have everything.
I was actually thinking the other day. You think this would be far away enough that it would be the ultimate version and the PC would just get the ultimate version? I don't think it's far away enough.
I doubt it.
It's
No,
too close.
it's
right?
not far away because they're saying early like we're
2022.
talking first 3 months, early 2022, and it's already in development. So I just don't see it. PC, it doesn't affect the local market here at all. They can release the PC version all they want here, and it's not going to affect their Switch sales. And overseas, it's largely seen as a bonus. I don't think there's a huge amount of sales that they're going to lose by announcing it. I think PC players are PC players, and I don't think there's a huge overlap between that and Switch where people are like, okay, you know what? I'm going to wait an entire year to play the new entry just so I can play it on PC. I just don't see that being a big enough crowd to be worth considering for them.
There's definitely a lot of people in my comment section, at least, that feel like that, which,
Yeah.
I'm glad that you guys were, actually waited, which is good. And I'm sorry that my initial thoughts were that it was because, again, to me in Gaijin, it still doesn't make a lot of sense. It's like,
yeah, and I'll just say, like, it would have been great if this was on every platform, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's no fun in knowing that it's been restricted, but you have to consider there's probably a lot of development support that Nintendo gave them for this title. It's pushing the hardware in a way we've never seen, in my opinion. They're helping a lot with the marketing. We see trailers, directs. We see Nintendo promoting this thing heavy. It makes sense that there would be between either money or development support. There's got to be some reason, and also strategically, that they would just say, let's just make this switch. We have only one platform to focus on. Development will go smoother as a result, and we'll have a better experience because it's tailored for one system. They've done this in the past, right? It's like no one ever asked, hey, why wasn't Monster Hunter 3G also on the PSP? No one asked it because they designed it for the 3DS. Very much like they're designing this for the Switch. So would I like to see an Xbox and PS version later on? Heck yeah. The more people who can play the game, the better. Do I think it's coming? I doubt it.
I asked why it wasn't on the Vita. I wanted a Monster Hunter on the Vita and it never came.
It would have been nice.
It would have been nice.
But Sony had to make it. That was a really bad period for Sony. They made development very hard on everything, right? Vita was a tough sell, and PS3 Vita was a bad sell.
Vita development, according to pretty much most of the indie developers I spoke with, they were like, dude, this thing's a dream. We love working on this thing.
Really?
Yeah, they liked working. At least most of the people I spoke with, they said it's super easy to work on the Vita.
Or maybe it was the fact that it just from a gameplay developer standpoint, maybe they didn't have any appealing new features. Maybe it just felt like PSP version 2.
Yeah.
Like no one cared about the back touch panel where you can feel it like a pervert. You're like fondling the back of the unit to do inputs. It's like no one used that. You have to show it because they can't see me. You have to show what I was doing.
Oh wait, I'll show it. I have a Vita right here. Look.
Wow.
This one.
Look.
Inputs. This one's the special one. It has the port. This one's the modified one in that store in Akihabara or whatever.
Oh,
right?
Wow.
I bought it off of there. But this thing in the back, guys, it's a touchpad, so you could like fondle it in the back.
I don't know what they thought it was a cool idea. It was like the 3D and the 3DS. No, everyone was like, they thought it was a cool idea. It didn't have any substantial impact on gameplay.
There was this one game from Media Molecule, Tearaway, that actually made really good use of the fondling in the back.
There's no surprise that Vita went on to be a soft porn machine here in Japan.
Yeah, I seem to remember, I saw articles and stuff of like the type of games you guys had over there, and there was a lot of visual novels, a lot of dating sims and stuff like that. Yeah, that stuff was. But here's the thing: the Vita scene was actually alive in Japan for a lot longer than it was in the West. Like the machine died in the West, and it was still there a lot longer. Like, you want to know when I realized that the Vita was probably going to die? I was at Gamescom and I was having dinner with a lot of Sony people. And during that dinner, I told them, hey, you guys released this really good free game on the Vita recently. And they're like, really? Which one was it? that called Destiny of Spirits or Spirits of Destiny. I don't forget. It was like this. It was like a gacha game, but it was actually really fun. And so I remember getting really into that thing, and I was telling them about it. They're like, "Yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about." And I was like, "Okay." Like the Sony PR people had no idea what I was talking about. I was like, "All right." That's when I was like, "Well, I guess this console's not long for this world." Oh man. But
Oh man. Oh, here's another point: is they're trying to link it and help to promote stories too, right? They can't really do that with a PlayStation and Xbox version, now could they? But in the same argument, you could say, well, they could put Stories 2 on Xbox and
are they going to put
PlayStation.
Stories 2 on PC?
They haven't announced anything yet. It wouldn't surprise me. Because again, I think we talked about this in the podcast before, where I'm seeing this pattern with Sony in particular, where they're trying to get exclusivity for games, right? So they're paying publishers to get titles exclusive, but they're saying, but you can also have PC, particularly Epic Game Store, you can have it. And so there's like a pattern of everyone considers PC as just plus alpha. Like there's nothing wrong with having it, won't cannibalize our sales, doesn't screw up the competition. It's just, it's a platform we can have. It's a wild card. So I could see this being a huge trend where it's like Nintendo exclusive, but also PC. Xbox exclusive on PC. Well, that obviously because it's Microsoft. And Sony saying, Sony exclusive, but also PC. I just don't think there's a huge enough overlap.
I think the problem with that is that PCs keep getting the second-class citizen treatment, which I don't think is healthy.
Yeah, they never come out at the same time.
I don't think that's healthy at all. Because, I think a lot of people might think that I'm almost against it, that I'm like somehow in favor of exclusives, which I've never said. I've always been, I wish everyone could play the same games in every platform. But I'm also the kind of guy that'll be like, but I'm still going to play the games that I want to play. I don't care which platform they're on, basically. That's the way that I look at it. But I think it kind of sucks for the PC if it's just seen as like the one who gets the leftovers, right?
Yeah, so I have a question for you because I don't know. So for Japanese developers and publishers, that's absolutely the case. And I don't see that ever changing because there's no PC market here in Japan. It just does not exist. At all. 2, I just don't think that Japan ever really adapted to AAA game development well. There's lots of stories and documentations on why, but the process in which games are developed in Japan is very different than the West. And I think that the West was much quicker and much better at adapting to larger scale developments where they had multiple platforms, larger scale productions and pipelines. So I don't see Japan being fit enough to be able to handle multiple platforms at once in a very, maybe some publishers can do it, but not a lot. Where in the West, I almost feel like because they adapted the AAA so much better and next gen game development, where it's not just waiting for one director to tell people what to do. Maybe PC versions come out earlier. I don't know. Is that a trend also in the West where PC versions come out really late, or is it generally much better than Japanese games?
Generally, if something is coming to the PC, unless there's an exclusivity deal on it, it usually tends to release day and date. If it's a game that has been planned for PC, it's usually day and date. But if it's like an exclusive thing, like I think there was the thing where people were saying that potentially 7 Remastered would come to PC at some point. Like those are things where it would come late, or if it's a Sony exclusive, then it would come late. Like if you've seen the Android game, whatever it's called, you talked about it earlier. It's not Detroit. Detroit Become Human. That one came a lot later. There was another one, Until Dawn, also came a lot later. But if it is planned, it usually tends to come day and date. But there's just a lot of these situations with exclusives where it, PC gets it later, and I just think it sucks. Because I agree with
the
hype dies down.
If you're gonna do it, don't do it a year later. At that point, it's like you're just giving them old games.
The hype dies down significantly, and I think that a lot of publishers they don't realize how much the hype dies down because that is one of the reasons why Monster Hunter never took off in the West until World. It's not because the games weren't good. It's because the games were out. And the West in particular has a much bigger culture of the now, like what is happening right now, right this instant.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that everybody wants to be a part of, the thing that is happening this instant.
I'm also curious, the mentality that I generally, speaking with lots of different developers here in Japan, I've always gotten this impression that Japan's still very traditional and behind when it comes to a lot of platforms, right? And very traditional in how they think. And I almost think that there's a mentality that PC versions are still a high risk because of piracy. People still have it in their heads that they're going to lose sales because of day one pirates, and that releasing a PC version day one is seen as a risk. Where if you say, okay, we're going to release it 3 months later or half a year later, one, from development, it helps because I just don't think Japanese developers are that smart when it comes to developing for the PC platform, because that platform doesn't exist here. But I also think it's also from a sales perspective, I think publishers here probably feel better knowing that there's no PC version day one, because it could be seen as a risk factor.
I mean, I
don't know. That's just the impression I've gotten.
I
think
that is definitely still a little bit backwards, because here's the way that you got to look at it. I mean, anybody who's going to pirate a game, they're going to pirate a game. Any type of measure that you take to prevent someone from pirating a game is only going to hurt one type of people, and that's the people that are paying for the game. Because the people that are pirating the game, they don't have to deal with that crap, because, someone's going to crack it. Doesn't matter how complex you make it, someone's going to crack it.
Yeah.
It always happens.
I liked what Valve said, right? Was it Gabe who said that piracy was primarily a services issue? Where if it was just as easy to purchase and play a game as it was a pirated version, then people wouldn't pirate it. And people are the majority of piracy is because of the convenience factor, and just the better user experience and getting it.
Which is why the more these companies start using, the Nouveau and other such softwares that actually bring more problems that only affect the person that actually paid for the game, that's just like asking for having more problems. Which, like, I got a lot of people mad at me when I was criticizing World for using the Nouveau, and people were just like, "I got to criticize World." And I was like, "Oh, okay." It's like
I've heard
call
nothing
things
good about it. Yeah,
I call things as I see them. Like, just it's still my favorite game of all times. I still don't like the fact that it uses the Nouveau because it's bad for paying customers. It's that simple. Mm. But anyway, we've went on so many different directions.
All I know is in a week now we're gonna have so much to talk about because they are spilling the beans.
Actually,
oh my god!
I just realized one thing. The podcast we're gonna record a week from now. That'll be on the 10th. That's right, as the new demo comes out.
It'll be right beforehand, yeah.
And you can't play it because it's gonna have Magnum Malo.
Yes, I won't play it. I'm fine at the. You know what? When we first talked about this on the podcast, I said that I wasn't completely sold, but this is something I was willing to concede on. I'm actually sold on it now. I actually don't want it. I don't want to play it. Even if Yuna said to me, "You know what? Let's play it," I'd be like, "Nah, let's not."
There you go. That's the way to do it.
At this point, I just want to play the game. I just want the damn game.
I know.
I'm so excited. I just want it.
Yeah. I remember when we
I
initially
still got some stuff to do in Iceborne until then.
When we initially talked, I remember that you were just like, "No, I'll play it. I don't care." Now it's like, "No, I don't want to play it. I just want to play the final game." Now you see my point of view.
Well, that, and I'm also, I'm keep telling myself this is a base game. There's not as much content as Iceborne.
Yep.
I don't want to just scarf it down and be like, do I get more dessert? No, you ate yours already. It's like, I want more.
Ate your dessert. That's it.
But I want more. I'm going to try to be as careful as I can to make this the best experience possible, because this is, yeah.
This
I can't wait. Oh my God. So next week we're going to be, good God, I don't know how we're going to schedule for that, because that's just going to be, we'll have everything.
Yeah.
They're just going to, It's gonna be fun.
We'll have all of the events, and then the day after our podcast is going to be the community event, which is going to be on the 11th.
Oh my
It's going to
gosh.
be crazy. I'm gonna be editing the podcast and live streaming the thing at the same time. It's going to be crazy.
Yeah. So if I would say next podcast, regardless of what topics, I'd love to hear what you guys want to say. But I think we're gonna have a full list of things to talk about as it is. So
Pretty much.
and I promise I will have watched everything. I'll have my notes. I'll have my dissections beforehand. This time I've just been sucked into the Iceborne hurricane, and it's been a fun time.
It's a good hurricane to be sucked into, though. Particularly playing with your daughter. It's awesome.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, guys, we're going to be calling it here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed listening to this episode of Third Fleet Podcast as much as we enjoyed recording it. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Remember, there's links to everything in the description, links to Gaijin's channel, which I'm sure that all of you are subscribed, or you should be subscribed. If you're not, go subscribe now. Like right this instant. In the description, there's a link there. There's also Discord servers in there and all of that stuff. We'll see you guys in the next one. Stay strong, stay safe,
And happy hunting.